Come on in, come on in. Smash that like button. We're about to get it going again. Reporting live from the sanctuary. It's your boy Driscoll, aka Bishop Heathen. We got another fire episode of Church of Heathens for you. We're going to talk about the hot topic of marriage, parenting, and family values. We simulcasting live with Family Values right now. Shout out to her and all her supporters. She'll be joining me in a second. Smash that like button. Share with somebody that you think will enjoy this conversation. We're going to get it going shortly. The countdown begins.
Call me Driscoll, aka Jesus Peace. Spitting scriptures that's in red, making Jesus speak. If you get that through your head, what your demons seek, it's the blood that these vampires need to drink, that bring the dead back to life, make it seem discreet. Man, these lives getting touched, I redeem the streets. Hit you deeper than that crack that these fiends can't beat. It's the dawn of the dead, quarantine the streets. For the goons with AKs, ARs, strapped up like they made for war. I speak for those with no voices, while my words cut like a ninja sword. So much spirit up on each verse that you ain't gotta go to church just to hear the Lord. Make your soul rain at the inner core. It's the blood game that we living for. Make you hold your pain or you sin no more. What we out here trying to be bitter for? To reflect the pain from the inner war. That's the bigger war. But used to give us Lord. Let's party, get turned, and don't let haters stop your thunder. Tell your DJ that Driscoll got the club locked this summer. What's up?
Yo. Once again, it's your boy Driscoll, aka the Bishop Heathen, reporting live for another fabulous episode of Church of Heathens. I got my fellow heathens in the backstage, ready to get into this conversation with me tonight on marriage, parenting, and family values. On the topic of family values, without further ado, let me get my first panelist on here. Some know her as Jazz. Some know her as Family Values. I simply know her as Baby Baby. Let's get her up here to holler at y'all. Family Values. Holler at the people real quick. For those who don't know, let them know who you are and what you do and where they can find you.
Yes, my name is Jasmine, like you said. I have a channel called Family Values where we discuss all things marriage and family. So make sure you go over there and check me out. I'll be posting that link in the chat. And also you can find me at youtube.com/Family Values TV and at Family Values TV on Instagram.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining. We are doing a simulcast with her as well. So for her viewers, feel free to comment, ask whatever questions you have. Thank you for joining in. Next up, we got my guy, my brother that I have known for quite some time. You know him as Smitty. I know him as Pastor Heathen. Without further ado, Smitty, holla at the people, man. Let them know who you are.
What is going on? Pastor Heathen in the building,
Yes, sir.
libertarian extraordinaire, follower of Christ. We are in the building. As always, bro, I am grateful for you having me on this platform. Uh, let's get into it.
Let's do it. And next up, we have host of the channel Keeping It Real with Lakia. We know her as Lakia, but here in the sanctuary, we know her as Sister Heathen. Sister Heathen, let the people know what's good.
Hi, everybody. How you doing? I am Lakia. My channel is Keeping It Real with Lakia on YouTube and just made an Instagram page as well. And I am excited about the topic and ready to talk it out. Let's go.
Amen to that. And last but certainly not least, a late arrival. You know how it is in the black church. You always got that one that comes strolling in right after offering. But that's going to be none other than my brother Kel, a.k.a. Brother Heathen in the house, sitting in the back. Thought we won't go see him, but we about to move you on up to the front, sir. Let the people know what's good. You sit right in front of Pastor.
What's up? What's up? It's your boy Kel's brother Heathen in the house, man. Nah, I ain't no straggler here. We had to go get some dinner while we was dropping off at the collection plate. It's here.
Lord. So you miss praise and worship for Popeyes.
Hey, I came in straight from praise and worship too, so it's all right. We caught it one way or another.
You did praise and worship in the car. We respect it.
Definitely here. But we in here, we doing it. Hey man, you can find me at Kel Hawks on Facebook right now. Other pages are coming soon. Black in Tech is coming soon.
Black coming soon. Amen. Amen. So let's get right into this, man. Everybody on here is married except for my brother Kel, from what I understand. And Kel, would you like to be married one day?
Yeah, I would love to be married. That's the goal.
Okay, so just to set the ground on that. And I think everybody has kids except for Kel too. Kel, you got kids?
Nah, no kids.
No kids. Cool. So this topic is going to be interesting from your perspective, especially when we get into the topic of marriage, parenting, and family values. I want to hear your opinion first, Kel. What do you think in regards to our culture today is missing in this area? If you could just think of one thing off the top of your head.
True, natural, God-given and divine leadership. And I hark on divine leadership. Okay. Because we all growing up thought we knew what being a leader, being a man was.
Go there.
Itself here. You know, it's one of those things here, if you come to it or not, sometimes you just realize you're doing it the wrong way. And not only that, but then to also have representation that is in God and showing you a way, whether it's family, how they operate, how they do things, you know, which is wildly different from especially how my pops did it. Itself here, you know, his whole way of ruling, he's a Marine, so he ruled with an iron fist, whatever he say, go. Which a lot of times he won't write, but there was no room to discuss that itself here. You know, it was like, you know, just blow it off, take it, whatever it is itself here. Take what you can, you know, you can use it. Whatever you can't use it, toss it in the garbage and keep it moving. You know, so that's the thing here, you know, and being like that, it's almost like not having a father in the home once you see the godly representation of a father who's a leader itself here. Because I've come to the realization, I was like, man, I've been doing a lot of stuff wrong itself here. You know, a big thing that I hearken on is accountability and responsibility itself here. So, you know, although my dad taught me that, in a sense, I never really had it itself here because I never had nothing that I really was accountable for. But like, you know, coming with my walk in God and actually seeing the representation, I'm held to a higher standard, not only by my pastor, itself here, but other brothers of the church, other sisters of the church itself here. They call in, they ask, how you doing? How's your day? You get this done, you do this, you do this. Come on, step it up. Step it up. Itself here. So that's my take on it.
Interesting perspective. And if I can pry a little bit, when you said your dad got it wrong, what makes you feel that way? Like, what are you basing that on?
So, like I said, my dad ruled with an iron fist. Me and him, we clashed growing up. From the outside, you would never think so, but it was him speaking from a 40-year-old perspective to an adolescent who hasn't gone through it.
Okay.
You know, so although what he said came to fruition itself here, it was different for me. So when I came back, because I was out west, I used to live in Cali, I used to live in New Mexico, and so all those things came to fruition and stuff here. And I finally told him, I was like, I get what you're saying. It didn't happen as such here, but a lot of times I had to grow up. You know, I wasn't mature enough to really handle situations until I actually moved out and saw what it was and had to start making things shake, in a sense here. And so, like, the way that he raised me, it was very combative itself here, instead of just a back, like a healthy back and forth. Just try to understand from a perspective itself here, because of course nothing's new under the sun, but everything changes from generation to generation
Right.
itself here. You know, because one of the big thing is we was raised in a generation where technology took off the ground. My parents knew nothing about that. I had to figure that out. So I was starting off on the back foot itself here. Whereas I see the representation coming from my pastor and some of the other family members itself here, where they're taking an interest into what their kids are taking an interest into itself here and trying to find out the information, even though they don't know. They're trying to find out that information and try to help these kids go in that direction itself here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see where you're going. Let's jump down to Pastor Smitty. In your opinion, what do you think is missing culturally in regards to marriage, parenting, and family values, and what do you think needs to be addressed on a large scale?
Tradition.
Go there. I love it.
A lot of people go against tradition. I think on certain facets, uh some traditions should be tossed out, but you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Nice.
So there are a lot of things traditionally held that kept our families together. And the nuclear family is becoming less and less a part of our society that we live in now. And that in and of itself is scary.
Why the emphasis on the nuclear family?
That's where structure comes from. Uh, you know, as a father of five, my kids practice disagreements and agreements with each other. They know how to negotiate for themselves. Me myself in particularly, and I don't mean this in a negative sense. And if you want me to expound on this more, I will. But I am a rather disagreeable person. And my kids see me disagree with people, not argue with people, but disagree with people a lot. And disagreements are not always, I don't see things the way that you see them, or I don't like the way that you do this. It's a deal on the table. The way that you form a relationship, the way that you talk to a person. Disagreements are a necessity in order for you to shape your life. And I believe that in the past, traditionally, um, our parents and our grandparents, and I can't speak for everybody's parents and grandparents, but speaking for the generality, they came down to negotiations, and those bonds that they negotiated were unbreakable.
I like what you brought into the discussion, because before I get to the ladies' input on this, this kind of segues into the first video clip I want to show. I came across this today and it blew my mind. I just said this on our Marriage Monday, and I say it all the time, and I had no idea that such a prominent speaker has spoke on this very same topic. So I want to share this with y'all, and really get your input on it. And you kind of gonna already have an idea of my input, but it is really was eye-opening to some of the people in the comments. So it'll give us a great point of discussion from there. And it is this remix that I did with Jordan Peterson.
Because maybe the conflict will shatter the marriage. And then you think, well, how much conflict can we engage in? And the answer is, depends on how committed you are to reconciliation. Because it isn't how much you fight, it's how well you reconcile. And you might say, well, we don't want to fight in front of the children. It's like, well, no, you don't want to fight counterproductively in front of the children. But one of the best things the children can see, in my estimation, is a pretty heated discussion, followed by a positive resolution, followed by the establishment of peace. Even if it's a consequence of unreasonable behavior on one of the part of one or both partners, the child needs to see that difficult problems can be mutually broached and a solution thereby engendered, even when it's accompanied by heat. Be afraid of a conflict because maybe
This was really eye-opening for me to hear that, because this goes against everything we are taught in the Black community.
Wow.
And when I say this, I almost never get any feedback. People act like I'm crazy. I've said this for at least a year or two now. I'm like, well, why do we feel the need to hide that we fight, that we disagree from the kids? I genuinely believe this is why we exist in a culture of people who walk away from each other every time things aren't pretty.
Mhm.
Because the generation before us taught us that marriage was not supposed to have issues, because they hid it, they went in the bedroom, and we thought things were perfect when they were not.
Mhm.
Disagreement is a part of human relationships. And the strongest thing that kids are getting in my household is the understanding that no matter how bad mommy and daddy disagreed, confrontation don't mean our family is breaking.
Mhm.
Why have we demonized that idea? And anybody who wants to jump in with a thought.
I will. I feel like the main thing that he said was about reconciliation. So I was I was so against arguing in front of my kids. And as soon as he started talking about it, I'm like, bingo. Like, I would be like, we're not doing this. Like, we would be texting from across the room, and I'm like just trying to get out my points and everything. But the whole issue always was, it stayed right there. It never was a solution. It never, like, you know what I'm saying? So it would be a blow up, and it would stay at that phase, and there was no reconciliation. So I guess that's what I'm used to from growing up too. So it always, to me, I'm like, it's negative. If I would have seen reconciliation, if I would have seen, all right, now let's go eat, or, the moving on after the disagreement, then maybe my views would have been different. But I definitely agree to that. Now, even I feel like I'm closer. I've always been close to my kids, but I feel like we connected on a different level when I stopped hiding my emotions.
Right.
When I started, because it would be like my daughter would get so anxious when the first time she ever seen me cry, because she's 8 and she just seen me cry this year. So she's like, are you okay? Like, think it's the end of the world.
Exactly.
But now when she sees me cry, or she sees anybody cry or something, she's just like, you need anything? Like, it's more like, okay, this is a normal emotion. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's important to not hide it at all, emotions in general. And that way you can show them you're human too, because they think you have everything figured out and they hold you to this high standard, and they get way more disappointed when they realize, like, no,
Yeah,
I'm a human too. So yeah.
I guess this is what they mean by emotional intelligence. Is that what what they're talking about when they speak on that? When you hear people call it, yeah.
I would think so, because it's like you can't, nobody, humans, I'm going to say, even, I mean, animals too, but they experience their emotions and they know, that's why they can sense it, they can feel it. But I thought it used to be better walking around the house not saying nothing because I'm not arguing in front of you. But that tension, that
That's
all
dangerous.
is that thickness in the air is worse. The kids feel it now, they acting out, they fighting, and you wonder why, like, what is wrong with y'all, what's going on? And you can clearly feel like the energy is just totally different. So
I don't know if Smitty can concur. I know every man is different, but for me, that walking around silent, acting like it ain't happening, now I'm about to really blow up.
yeah, because it's like, and then
all the way
that's
pissed me
also
off.
counterproductive, and it's passive aggressive. And I hate that. I hate passive aggressive behavior. I wish people would just be direct. But then my problem was I was a little too direct, because now I'm like, oh, I'm gonna tell you everything, but I wasn't filtering and getting to a point of being level headed before I was jumping down somebody's throat. But
I think the key word that was used in there was the word reconciliation.
yeah,
If you're trying to reconcile, then I think that you can display that in front of your kids. But unfeathered arguments should be in the bedroom.
What is a
Because
feathered argument though in the context of marriage?
all right, unfeathered is with no resolution. Um, I think we all have hot spots in here. If we're honest, there's something that could be said to you to where your immediate reaction is not reconciliation. Your immediate reaction is that person is wrong, and that isn't the point that you should be doing. Like it isn't to make mommy look bad. It isn't to make
Okay, I see where you're going.
yeah, daddy look bad or whatever. It's actually like, all right, there's an issue that needs to be resolved. Let me show you how to solve the issue, because I already know. I know as a dude or whatever, and this isn't everything that applies to being a man or whatever, but sometimes you have to lose to win. You don't win every argument. A defeated person isn't if you defeat a person that you have to spend the rest of your life with, what does your life look like?
What does it say about you?
Oh yeah. My bad, Kel. You had something to say?
Yeah, I mean, going off Smitty's point, I mean, but what does it have to say about you? Like, I used to have a big problem in relationships because I used to say that you're wrong, and I know you're wrong itself here, where I had to stand back and look at myself. I was like, okay, I may think it's wrong. I don't really care about it, but it matters to her. So let me see why it matters to her.
That's the difficult part. For me, I ain't gonna speak. I don't know if it's a men thing. I'm gonna say for me, because I don't think I'm the typical man. I struggle with,
like that.
well, because a lot of the things I say, a lot of men don't agree. So I can't speak for men as a whole when I talk about myself. But on the topic you just said, Kel, that's something I struggle with, is like when I'm wrong to you, especially when it's something related to your feelings. But to me, it's just like, why we got to deal with that?
Now, see, that's not where I was trying to go with it.
Yeah, I know. But Kel brought that in there, and I was like,
Yeah,
that's
because
yeah.
like,
Haven't checked that one.
one thing that happens in marriage, and a lot of people think that because you've been married to a person for so long, that all right, well, you've been married for 17 years, you've been married for 10 years, you've been married for 7 years, you've been married for 5 years. You could just toss it all on the table. No, it's not like that, because sometimes what you have to check people on is a person's button. It's the very thing that's going to set that person off. And you know it's going to set that person off, but it still needs to be said, because if you don't say it, then you live in resentment towards that person. And you don't want to be married and have a resentful spirit towards the person.
Especially when they don't know why.
Can I go?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I got to go back to what you said about why we got to go there. I think the biggest thing is we become desensitized, period. And that's on both sides, because I know what's going to trigger him or what he dislikes or what irritates him. And it might be annoying to me. And I'm just like, and you might get that response because I'm so used to being like, it's hard to consciously make yourself be considerate of somebody else's feelings. And more than anything, I feel more on the male side, because men are not, from an emotional standpoint, they're definitely desensitized to emotions, especially when, I'm like a kid. I'm having a hissy fit. I'm crying. I'm screaming. I'm yelling. And then you don't want to acknowledge that. You don't want to acknowledge why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. That becomes the issue. So I feel like it's desensitization. Then to piggyback off what Smitty said about it still needs to be said, that's so important, because I cannot express the frustration when something bothers you and I hear about it only as a counter argument to something I'm now bringing to you, because that, oh my God, it drives me insane. I'm like, this happened like 4 months ago or a year ago, and you never mentioned it. You never said anything. It's like you tiptoed this whole time, which, number one, now the respect level is going down, because I feel like you're tiptoeing around me.
Now I'm definitely not about to address it.
Right. So now I feel like you're tiptoeing around the issue. So, which means, why are you tiptoeing? Are you afraid to talk to me? Am I like, so that's an issue, especially woman to man. Anyway, and then on top of that is like,
I like how you pointed up to the man.
Huh?
Like how you pointed up to the man.
Yeah, because and you gotta stop analyzing everything. But it's always like, it's like, so, you got me all messed up now. But then on the same token, it's like you're waiting to like use this as ammunition, as an excuse when I'm bringing something to you, and it's like taking away my point that I'm making and your accountability for whatever I'm bringing to you. You can't even focus because you're in like defense mode instead of something that pissed you off 4 months ago when you could have just talked to me then. So it has to be said, regardless if it's a trigger or not. I posted it everywhere and I said it. Triggers are your responsibility. It's a lot of stuff that triggers me, but I have to adapt and accept that that's my trigger and it's nobody else's responsibility but mine. But it still has to be said, because I would rather you check me on something and tell me about it than not say anything, be passive aggressive, really be mad low key and not say anything to me about it. That's definitely important. I totally agree.
Yo, and well, hold on. You can say your piece and then I'll say mine, because I'll remember this. I got it. It's locked in.
Okay. Well, I agree with a man having to make sure that he speaks on those triggers or those issues. But as a wife, I don't believe that every trigger, everything that you are annoyed with should be spoken on. I actually just did a post earlier today about knowing when to shut up and to shut up.
Talk about it. We're gonna put that stuff up later.
That's why I don't really
get that around a clap, Phil. Give it a clap, because that was my biggest thing, Dad. I had a response for everything. I was like this. Hold on, wait a minute now.
But we're all talk about it. It's just knowing when there's like certain things that doesn't need to be said. That's why I can't really jump on and wholeheartedly agree with you and Smitty are saying when it needs to be said. I don't think everything needs to be said. I think if it really, really bothers you, maybe pray about it, because especially if it's not harming anyone, especially if it's just a little trigger. Like,
well, then to cut you off real quick, wouldn't that mean that it's not something that needs to be said then?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but their point was about things that need to be said.
What?
I thought their point was about things that need to be said.
Oh, I thought they were saying that everything needs to be said.
No. Not everything needs to be
Okay.
said.
The
And
point that I came from was if it needs to be said, you need to say it because you don't want to be resentful towards your spouse. If you can't speak to your spouse and the thing that you needs to be said makes you resent that person and you don't say it and you're just sitting there like, man, I can't stand this motherfucker.
Oh, okay. If you're still like, if it's bothering to the point that you're even treating them different and it's outwardly. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, my point was more of the men to the women, because I know majority of men are not nagging and saying stuff about small stuff anyway.
Right.
It's us.
That's why I say we got to be careful with that, because
that felt like a knife a little bit.
we can think that it needs to be said.
Right. Sometimes, but a lot of times things that was an issue is like, like why? You know what I mean? Like, so, but I'm talking more like from the male perspective. I would prefer you check me on something that bothers you, because it's not going to be something small.
Right.
I mean, majority of the time, unless you just nagging about something, which I would doubt.
Right. And I've always been that way too. Like, if something were to arise later and I found out that my husband was annoyed with it months ago, and then it comes up, I'm like, well, why didn't you say anything?
Right.
Well,
yeah.
I'll say this though, as a husband, I did have to learn this as the years came.
Go there.
And it is this. Like, I know my wife speaks emotionally, and I know I speak logic over emotion, but I cannot push her emotion away every single time that it comes up. And that was the important part, because that's where I was like, well, logically in this, I feel as though I'm right, but I still can't push your feelings to the side as though they don't matter at all.
Exactly.
Right. That's the accountability piece. It doesn't matter what.
That's balance. That's balance right there.
I don't know if that is balance. I don't think anything's ever balanced. So that's my view. But I feel like it's more accountability. So if I feel some type of way,
I'm not accountable to your emotions though.
No, it's no. Let me explain.
Okay.
It's accountability for you to say, like, if I'm telling you, just like if David tells me I made him feel some type of way, it would be disrespectful to say I'm not accountable to your emotions. It doesn't matter why I did what I did, why I said what I said. If you feel this way and I care, I need to address that and be accountable for how I made you feel, is my point. That's how I feel. Because you can't have it one-sided.
Yeah, I think that's potentially dangerous though. I think we can have a conversation, but there are people out here that will get into emotionalism to the degree where it's just like unbearable. It's like they'll start to use it as a control tactic.
I get that, and I think we can understand that that's not what I mean. I'm just more
no, but you don't mean that, but there are a lot of women like that though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a common thing nowadays. Women
everything is
with their emotions now, and it's like, if you don't stop what you're doing to cater to my feelings, you are not a good man, and that justifies me doing whatever.
No.
So
totally disagree with that.
But on the part where you said, what did you say? About men having to tell their woman how it is and not resenting them. You kind of was nice about it, because that's another thing that a lot of men today don't do. Men today will quietly grow resentment for you and never tell you the problem. That's another major issue I have with today's men. They do not tell the truth to their women.
Yeah.
Well, for one, I believe like a lot of men are just immature about standing on their own too. Itself here. Because they feel like they're gonna lose the box.
Thank you. That's what it is. It's fear of losing the box.
They're losing the box. And I just came to a realization, like, either she gonna adjust to it or she not.
That's it.
That's it.
And that I always say, give me the option. Like, tell me what it is. All right, I'm about to be completely real. Okay. I was
Set it on
attracted
fire. Set it on fire.
to trash because I felt like the major component that I wasn't getting or receiving was that raw, I don't give a damn what you talking about. This is what it is. To me, do you know how people always say like, oh, women don't want the nice guy, they want this guy.
Yep.
And I agree to that. I'm not saying I want somebody that's trash per se. He trash in all the other areas, but I'll be damned if he not going to tell me like that. We don't act like you don't want that control and you don't want somebody to keep it real with you and be like, sit down. You know, like you don't want the person that's going to be like, well, honey, if you don't want to, then I'm just no. What you mean? Like, so I totally agree to that. It's the fear component, and to me, the street guy didn't fear it. It was like it's whatever. Do what you are, and it made it more of an attraction than the person that's like, I just adore you, and I'm like, you know, like it was just that was the reason for it.
I'll give you a little bit of pushback on that.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of women like men with backbones, and who speak their mind. But I also think a lot of women think that they're the exception to that rule.
I can agree to that. I can agree.
A lot of them say they want the nice guy, but their actions don't show that. That's
no,
not
because they want that. You walk all over them.
Yeah,
it's like you want the benefit of you want the attraction and turn on of the assertive part of this guy, but you want the nice guy qualities, and you know you're not going to get both.
Yeah,
like
or they want the safety of the nice guy. You don't have the same concerns that you have with the other guy.
But don't marry a leader.
I felt more safe with the street guy though.
Well, I'm not saying from a protection sense. I'm
saying
the fact that you know he don't got no options.
Don't marry a leader if you don't want to be led. That's something that's deep. Don't marry a leader if you don't want to be led. If you want to lead the relationship, then you shouldn't marry a leader because you're going to bump heads. And I mean, this is crazy to say, but I mean, my brother worked in this profession for a little bit. Not going to necessarily say what it is unless he says that it's okay for me to talk about it. But it's like in that profession where he worked, a lot of people that are in that profession are married dudes because women don't know how to behave. Because they marry leaders, and then when the leader tells them what to do, they're arguing with them. Don't marry a leader if you don't want to be led.
Yeah, and that's real. That's what happens.
But I feel like it's a lot of modern men that's not leaders though.
That's a fact. I wouldn't disagree with you on that.
It's kind of like they want the qualities that the leaders that they should have, but they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Do they want the qualities of leadership? I'm not saying
I think so. Like the qualities, as in you want that you want a submissive wife. You want a wife that is going to stay home with the kids all the time, but you don't want.
I'm not meeting that guy. Honestly, when I see dudes that don't want to lead, they shame me for wanting submission. I had a dude honestly on my Instagram comments yesterday saying how pathetic it is that I want a woman to serve me. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you saying you've run into those guys, I don't think that's as common as it used to be either.
It is.
Okay.
It's very common. I know a lot of people that deal with that and are in those circumstances where these men walk around amongst other men and but they have not a quality at all. And they like, so
I think you're defining it wrong then, because if you're talking about low resolution people hanging around other low resolution people, then you're not defining men. You're defining like a dude with a childish mentality.
There's a lot of those
who hangs around other people who allows him to be childish. And like if I told Driscoll tonight, like, hey bro, man, this family stuff ain't working out. and I think I'm gonna go do something else. You think me and him gonna be talking on the phone tomorrow about another deep topic? He's gonna
Hold
hold me
on.
accountable for that, and I
No.
would do the exact same to him. Oh, if he was like,
Okay.
"Yo, me and family values are no longer going to work out," and I know I had all these kids, but
Fuck
yo,
all
I
these
found
kids.
this other shorty down the way. She mad fine, da 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 da, and he think he gonna hang out with me, and I'm just gonna have conversations with him with him doing that. Like no, like
Majority, cup
men,
Smitty.
men hold men accountable.
No, they
Nah,
don't. No, they
nah.
don't. No, they do not.
Men, men,
Yeah,
No,
men.
men.
they don't.
um,
I know men who say that's not my business. My wife and my home is
Define a
here.
man. Define a man.
Bro,
Outside of age.
Lakia is in Philly, bro.
Okay. Okay.
You keep forgetting, man. Yo,
Yes.
we talking about some dusty niggas,
You
bro.
Well, like I didn't say like thugs or nothing like that. I
no
said
men.
men.
It's men. It
What
is men.
define a
My
man
dad.
to me? What is a man to you?
What's a man to me? A man is
Yeah,
somebody who's
and,
able to
and
be
please don't use age.
able to
Because I
be
know
accountable.
40-year-old kids.
Huh?
I know 40-year-old kids.
Age doesn't mean nothing to me. It doesn't mean anything. Your personality and who you are means more to me than your age.
Mhm.
But a man is somebody who's wise enough to be able to be accountable for their actions and also able to stand on their own 2 feet without anybody else and are not looking to cohabitate or to be in a relationship with anybody just for the benefits. That's a man to me. Standing on my own 2 feet, I got mine. If we meet each other, I'm not moving in you're gonna come over here. That's a man to me. But the thing about it is, I know men, real men, who take care of their homes and everything, but allow the foolishness around them. I don't know if it's for entertainment purposes or not, but you're not going to tell me that they're all, even if they say one thing that might be passive aggressive, or they just might be like, that fool ain't never going to change. My brother, for example,
That's my
he's a
nigga.
whole man, but one of his people that he's known since he was younger, and I'm like, why do you still deal with him? I can't. He's trash. He's like, you accept people for who they are. I know how and when to deal with him.
Okay, hold on. Now that's different, Lakia. So,
but that's a lot of them. What you mean?
no, you made it sound like
Man,
he's hanging with the dude regularly, though. If he's
He does. He go to events and stuff. To me, it's wrong on all. I can't deal with you half-assed. I deal with you if I can respect you and want to be associated with you, or I don't. It's no in between with me. So yeah, he's a man, but it doesn't mean that he's trying to control who's around him.
he's a man for himself then. How about that?
Yes. Yeah.
And then when it comes down to the other societal structures or relationship structures that he's dealing with, then he's not a man in that. Like my dad may have been a man that wasn't around me a majority of my life. He may have been able to take care of himself, but he never took care of me. Is that a man to you?
Nah, I get what you're saying, Smitty, because me and you think the same. I don't have a single friend that doesn't take care of their kids. I don't even know how.
Yeah.
I mean, that's me too, but I'm just
And
saying
can
there's
you
people out there that
can
do.
you imagine another dude out here talking like some INDEPENDENT? Do you know what that means? Talking about himself? Like that's crazy. That's like little kid stuff. That's
Yeah,
little kid stuff, yo.
First of all, women egos.
you're not
there's,
wrong,
there's,
though. There are men
there's
like that.
levels, there's levels in evolution that comes with life. When you go out by yourself, the ability to take care of yourself is a thing. But then on the same thing, we've been on another panel where we talked about child support. And then we've talked about people who don't take care of their kids and things. Those are not men. They're
Hold on. Let's
men by
pause, bro. Let's pause for a second.
But every man has ego, and
Hold on,
nobody's walking around willingly saying, I'm not shit. That's
Right.
the
Hold
problem.
on. Let's pause for a second. I want to address one thing because
Okay.
we're arguing about what a man is.
We're
Why
not
don't we
arguing.
why don't we do that for women? Why is it that men have to be a certain standard to be a man, but a woman is a woman?
No. I just answered a question.
Well, this is to Smitty.
Okay.
Mhm.
Why is it that we are trying to define a man in this way? Like we'll discredit what makes a man if it ain't our standard. But for women, they're women. You just a bad woman or a good woman. You're not no longer a woman.
Well, all right. Expound on that just a little bit further, just so I can understand and answer your question.
So the conversation y'all are having right now is that ain't a man or that is a man. Why do we do that for men, but we don't do that for women?
Well, there's this thing that I do. It's called discrimination. I discriminate against all women who are not my wife. My wife didn't come to me asking about Michael Kors bags. She didn't come to me asking about the newest shoes that popped. She didn't come to me asking for a particular house. She didn't come to me asking about anything material. She asked for me. Now, after we got married, she started asking for certain things, but it was like, well, just me being honest. Like I haven't always been the best man fiscally. Like I failed in that route before, but I didn't stay a failure. I reached other things. I've communicated like, hey, this is what I'm doing, babe. Da 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 da. Life got better. Life got extremely better. Even in what I'm doing right now, I'm not making as much money as I did prior. But even what I'm going towards right now is more so a career than me just having a just over broke. And y'all understand what a just over broke is. So
yeah, but you have to be willing to grow. And nobody's expecting you to come out the box with it all put together. It's a learning process. You're going to make mistakes and everything else along the way, but it's about not staying there. It's about progress and moving on and moving forward. If you just stay where you at, that's different.
So that's another topic, Licky, I want to go to, because you brought up something that's common too. Kevin Samuels used to talk about this all the time, where modern women don't want the average guy. And this ain't what you were saying. I'm gonna bring it full circle. And so when he'll be like, hey, well, this is, where you're at, you probably can get you a 40K a year guy that's average. And they like, oh, hell no. Or well, maybe I can work on him to make him better. And I think women don't understand that some men are okay where they are. Some men are like, hey, I'm locked in. This is what I do. And they're fine. Every man ain't a take over the world type of guy. How do you feel about that? That's hard for women to accept, I think.
Well, I feel like just like kind of like what Taylor said, there's a need for that type of man, but when it comes to how they run their home, they shouldn't be passive. They shouldn't be like that in their home.
So I was gonna get to Taylor's comment next. What about the phrase "too many chiefs, not enough Indians"? What about ego-driven men thinking they can lead but aren't truly capable? We can address that in another way. I want to ask the panel this.
Wow,
I'm gonna start with Kel, and then I'm gonna work my way around the panel. Should every man lead?
So my thing is, because the goal is marriage, right?
Yes, sir.
So you're gonna have to be a leader.
I agree.
You're gonna have to be a leader. So too many chiefs and not enough Indians. Now, when you're going through the paces of the steps, there's times to lead, there's times to sit down, shut the fuck up, and let's learn a few things here, because you don't know everything. You're not going to know everything. You're still going to be learning on the job your whole life itself here. So you have to be a good leader, you have to have a mix. As far as you have to know how to lead, but some things that you don't know about, you need to go to the chiefs and say, hey, who know about this?
I love it.
Who know about this? All right, let's take suggestions. Let's see what works. Let's see what doesn't work. To me, that's the marks of a true leader itself here, because now everybody's involved. Everybody feels valued at that point. The leader called on me. itself here. So
Right.
now I get more input and stuff, and you got them wanting to take on their individual tasks. A good leader always delegates anyway itself here. So that's the mark of a good leader. Every man should be a leader, but every man should know how to learn to
I
become
agree.
a better leader.
I agree on that
Mhm.
part, especially that you ain't a good leader if you ain't never followed nobody.
Right.
I
Mm.
ain't trying to hear that. Yeah. I want to hear you, Smitty, before I get to the ladies though.
Well,
Should every man
all right. In a marriage capacity, yes. Generally saying no. Biblically, it says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. I don't think necessarily everybody finds a wife. I don't think every dude on this planet is meant to be a chief.
woo,
I generally don't feel that way.
you might have just
So
torched something with that, bro. Because when we look at the marriage race, we complain that enough people ain't married, this and that. But there has never been a time where every man was married. Every man doesn't get the privilege of marriage. I never really gave that thought to just now. That kind of froze me for a second. Family
Right.
values.
Even with the population difference that there are more women than men, I guess that doesn't kind of create a narrative where you would think all men should be married.
Well, I don't know, but I know this. Like people bring up polygamy for that reason, as if that would allow more marriages. But the reality is that's gonna put more men out the game. Because that means more women can go to the best men.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It means the average guys are really gonna be out the game then.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I mean, just to come up with that idea, because what is it? It's like 80% of the women are only talking to about 20% of the
20%
men
of the men,
anyway.
yes.
So as far as a man, you got to find your way in that 20% somewhere.
Bro, if you're not in that 20%, you're getting what you can get.
You know,
That's how it goes. Every other man gets what they can get. And honestly, I think there's, what do they say, 30% of men that ain't getting anything.
right.
That are virgin-
I don't know. I don't know how it affects population, but Kevin Samuels even said this 54, and not he wasn't the only person to say this. It's like 54. I don't know what it is because it's been like a year or so, or 2 years now, possibly, or like a year and a half. But if 54% of our demographic are single and childless, it kind of sets a precedence like, yo, it's even showing now to where information is so prevalent to where most men now are like, I'm not a leader. I don't want to do those things.
Yeah.
Because certain people are bringing things to the forefront so much to the point to where they realize like, I have none of those qualities.
Mm-hmm.
And you can look at it as a bad thing, like, well, maybe they're stopping people from getting married, or on the off chance, maybe somebody is saying something that is so honest that people who are not leaders are listening to it, are noticing that they don't have those qualities.
Well,
Therefore, they're not creating children, and therefore they're not in a series of trying to date women. They're like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go to work every day. I'm gonna pay for this apartment that I live in, and then whatever form of escapism that I have, that's what I'm gonna participate in. And
right.
that's what
The
they
issue
do.
with that though is that the manosphere exists because those same men are complaining that they're not getting women. If you are gonna settle into, I'm just not gonna be that guy and I'm cool with that, then be cool with it. But you can't settle into being that guy and then being mad that women ain't attracted to it.
Exactly.
Well,
Because
well,
complacency
well,
is eternal.
my pushback to that would be, um, All right. Outside of what Kevin Samuels would consider the modern woman, my pushback to that would be um, men are not properly gaining skills at a level to where they have the capacity to take care of things in the way that they should be able to. And because, like, when Jordan Peterson went on a roommates podcast, he said Hafiz asked him a question, and I don't remember the question exactly. And Jordan Peterson answered the question. He was like, I don't think that's a good question. The question is, what are you doing to shape yourself to be? And I'm paraphrasing it. I'm not saying exactly what Jordan Peterson said because he's a hard person to quote because yeah, he's an extremely intelligent individual, but it's like, what are you doing to put yourself in a position to get these women? Women have the capacity to get pregnant and be left and to have to take care of children. So why not pick the person that's best fit for you to have children with? And that
Yes.
makes sense to me.
Well, bro, this is the irony in that. That's literally when we talk accountability in the manosphere, what they'll say. It's your fault. You chose the man. So if you know you're gonna put the accountability on them for who they choose, then let them choose, bro. And you either be the one they choose or you don't. But if you're not getting chosen, you got to work on yourself. That's not, you know what I mean? Like we can't.
Bingo.
There's no. You don't draw people to your leadership by complaining. You draw them to your leadership by them seeing your results.
Mhm.
But those same men will complain that they have to lead in that way. You say what it looks like, maybe train the girl that you want to be your wife, and they're like, no, why should I have to be like that?
Well, then don't have a wife, bro.
Then
Just
don't have a
Well,
wife.
enjoy,
I'll tell you
enjoy
what,
your complaining job.
I got married young for a reason. Uh, and well, one, my reasons have very little to do with what happened in the end and in totality. I married my wife because I knew I wanted to marry her because of her traits. Um, a lot of men don't pay attention to those traits. And give me 1 second, y'all keep on talking because I gotta think about the trait. I gotta think about what I was gonna say again because like I had this whole thing in my head that I was gonna say, and it just completely slipped my head. But hold on.
No, that happens. We're gonna go back to Jordan Peterson real quick because it's kind of aligns with the topic.
Hey Jazz, what did you just say though?
Huh? I don't
What did you
remember what
just
I.
say? Dang it.
Oh
it'll
yeah,
come-
the men in the manosphere, they'll complain about the fact that they will have to train their wives. They don't want to have to lead in that way, but then
So much work.
complain that they're, yeah,
I want her to come ready made while also being exactly what they need, which
right.
is literally oxymoronic. And I don't know where this idea came from. Well, the father should have taught her how to be a wife. No, bro. The father can be an example of a man to her, but nobody can teach her how to be your wife. Your helpmate is a result of your development, bro. That's why as men, we look at each other and we judge each other by the way your wife treats you. It's because it's a reflection of your leadership and who you are as a man.
Mhm.
She's
Mm.
nothing but you behind the scenes. And if she respects you like that, it's because she knows something we don't know. That doesn't come just because she was a ready-made product out of a vending machine.
Mm.
It doesn't work like that.
Mhm.
And
You
then
have
that
to
even goes back to that scripture because just because a wife or a woman was raised up to be a wife, it doesn't necessarily mean that she was raised up to be your wife.
your wife.
So there's always these teachable moments, and I mean, is as much as oh man, like me and you might disagree on this, and I'll toss this out because me and you've never talked about this before, but like it's the same thing for a husband. You have to learn your wife.
Yeah.
Um
To be a
and
leader, you got to learn the person you leading.
yeah, 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 yeah. And I know the manosphere is like, you are who you are. And I don't really mess with the manosphere or the red pill community. They do have a lot of facts that they toss out. Kevin Samuels was somebody that I listened to more so than anybody else. And I wanted to use the word practical, but he wasn't. He used tradition.
Yeah, I
That's
like that.
generally what Kevin Samuels did. Kevin Samuels used tradition against women. Women were like, yo, I want this type of guy. He has to be this tall. He has to be this weight. And he was like, well, in the 1940s, 1950s, men weighed 163 pounds. And then in this year, the average size of a man, the size shot up from 163 to an astounding 168. And then it went from women weighing 120, and the average weight of a woman now is 180.
Black woman, be clear.
Yeah. And he was like, you are fat and you weigh more than
Hey,
men.
I ain't fat.
Bro, but this the thing, and you're right, because that's what people were mad about. And they're like, okay, well, I want a man that this. Have you ever thought about what that man would want? Do you think he wants a woman that's 180? That
But the
doesn't
thing
matter.
that
Men are
drove me,
supposed to take what women want and just be their dream. That's how women nowadays have been taught.
yeah, I mean, but at the same time, nobody wanted to say anything, and he wasn't getting as much credit when he was holding men accountable.
True.
Because, like, I don't understand that.
A
It's
lot of
men.
people
He
didn't
used
know
to
it.
grill men
Uh,
too.
well,
It's
men,
acceptable to hold men accountable. That's
with
not
the,
new.
and that's the reason that I made the distinction about what you were talking about. In men hold men accountable.
Yeah.
No, they
Men
don't.
will hold men accountable.
No, they won't.
Hold on. Let me say this then. You're right, Lakia. A lot of them don't. But
Yeah.
for the men who don't hold men accountable, there's a woman out there that does. Y'all been holding men
Absolutely.
accountable forever. So criticizing men is not a new concept.
I
It's
wasn't
old.
going to say, I was about to say it's not even accountability when it comes from a female. It's more to put you down
It's
or to attack.
Yeah, criticizing men has long been acceptable. To this day, a
Because you're
woman,
supposed to be tough. You're
yeah, a
supposed to be.
random woman the other day got on my Instagram. What did she call me? I don't know, but it's okay for them to get on there, criticize, and call me all kind of names. Now, if I say the type of names that I want to say to a female on their page, they're gonna take my Instagram away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Society leans towards emasculating and treating men like trash. Like you can get away with that. Like I seen that one TikTok where the feminist was screaming about she wants all men dead and all boys, all men childs dead. Like kill them all. And we're like,
Put them in the womb. If you find out you're having a boy, and we want all men dead because they're a cancer to society. Now, if we had a show that said the opposite like that about women, there's no way I would have a channel tomorrow.
No, that's crazy. And that's what I'm talking about. It's too much going on. It's too much. It's too many cowards. Period. I don't care how people feel about what I said, but that's what it is. It's too many cowards. It's too many things that are accepted that in my mind are just ridiculous. Like, why do I gotta accept your preferences and what you want and all? I don't care. I don't care. I'm not trying to be rude, but it is what it is. I don't care. Keep what you're doing to yourself. Like, I love the whole don't ask, don't tell thing because it kept a sense of privacy. Everything is public, and I'm so tired of it.
Why you go there?
Just like the whole thing with pronouns and I want me to call you they, and I don't see more than one person in the English language. That's not what they means. Like, it's too much going on with trying to make everybody comfortable. The world is not about comfort. Like, it's not reality. It's this false reality that everybody's creating, which is screwing up everything.
Man, Lakia, you just gave me my segue, but I don't want to do it yet.
I got one question. I got one question to ask Lakia.
Hold it for a second, please. I want to play this real quick while we on this point before we get lost.
Pornography. Females preferred literary pornography. They found the classic literary pornography.
Let me start it over so you get it from the beginning. He said men prefer visual pornography, women prefer literary.
Men preferred visual pornography. Females preferred literary pornography. They found the classic literary pornography plot, which was something like relatively innocent but undervalued and attractive, but not so obviously attractive young woman stumbles across this sort of commanding man who has many women at his disposal, and over time, despite his relatively high levels of aggression, he finds himself attracted to this woman and then forms a sexual relationship with her. It's a Beauty and the Beast plot. One of the things that's so interesting about their analysis was they listed the top 5 occupations or characters for female sexual literature. And they were pirate, surgeon, billionaire, vampire, werewolf. I think it reflects to some degree this conundrum that women have. Women have to pick a man who has the capacity for aggression, enough of the capacity for aggression to protect himself and others and to move out into the world against a fair bit of opposition, but who's also simultaneously empathic or perhaps conscientious enough. You need a bit of a monster in your man, let's say, to keep the real monsters away, but you don't want so much monster so that a relationship is impossible. Preferred.
I think that definitely broke down what we were talking about well. I want to get the lady stars.
I 100% agree with what he said. I want to feel like there's a level of danger with my husband, with my man, because I need to know that I'm going to be protected. I need to know, and I need to be able, it's hard to respect someone and honor them on a level that a man wants to be honored if you don't believe that he can break some shit. just that simple.
I know all this over.
Listen, but today they won't be honest about that.
Man, I told you, the streets was calling, they was howling. I'm telling you, because it's that you want that, it's enticing and exciting. Like, just like, I'm not trying to be vulgar here, YouTube, chill, but a man wants what they say, a lady in the street and the freak in the sheet. Like, you want that access,
right?
But you don't want it on public display. I don't want him to be walking out here embarrassing me like no. But I want to know that if somebody come rolling up or do something and talk to me crazy, I don't gotta say nothing because I know you got me.
Right.
I don't want to feel like you going to hold me back.
Yeah, and
well,
go ahead.
All right. Well, all right. There's a really honest cliche that exists because there's a time and Go ahead and finish it for me, Lakia, because I know you know it.
A place.
There's a time and what?
A place.
For?
Everything, apparently.
Everything. There's a time and a place for everything. There's a time for you to be a monster. There's a time for you to be extremely conscientious of your surroundings and pay attention to every word that you say and to be mindful of everything that you say. There's a time to protect. There's a time to flee. There's a time for everything that is necessary. And a leader will lead, but a leader does not want to argue with a contentious person about, hey, let's do this. Well, it don't seem like that to me. I didn't ask your opinion on it.
Right.
I told you what to do. Get it done.
Let's go. Let's go. I didn't ask your opinion. It's time to get out of here.
Yeah, and that's how I feel a lot about stuff, because I used to like try to hold that part back of me. Now it's like, you heard what I said. Well, I got to repeat this itself here. You know?
And they'll act like they mad about it, but they really like that. They would prefer that. Like, it's not, from what I hear, there's nothing worse than a woman going on a date with a guy that say where you want to go.
Yeah. They can't stand it.
Can I just tell you, I don't care if you say I'm gonna be there at 7, make sure you dress, get in the car, and we pull up the Arby's. I don't care. It's the fact that you just told me what to do. First of all, I'm like, oh shit, let me be ready right by the door, and I'm listening. We're going where you told me you had a plan. that means you thought about it. Even if you said we're gonna drive down this road with 5 different restaurants and I'm gonna pick out the sky blue, you still did it all and you didn't make me have to direct it. It is so and whatever you want to do, babe. Well, what you feeling like? I ain't do it because I was waiting for you. What? No. That is so annoying. What you mean you was waiting for me? Waiting for me for what? Like, it drives me crazy. Like, no, I don't want to have to do it all. Like, no.
That's free game, man. Free game.
No,
You don't want to, but you also don't want a nigga to be like, hey, yo, we going to Burger King. I don't feel like going to Burger King, babe. We going to fucking Burger King anyway. And you're like, yo.
My twisted ass is probably like, well, let me get this chicken
I'm
sandwich.
about to say, I don't know, bro. I think they would rather that than the nigga that's asking them.
I hate the asking. We can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I want to stay in the house now.
Like,
you know, there's times like, can you just choose?
Yeah.
Like, no,
well, I know like once we get into a relationship, like from Smitty perspective, you've been married for decades. You start to ask more then. But for a beginning situation, bro, if you ain't got the date plan, don't ask it.
I mean, to this day,
in that perspective, I have no arguments.
Yeah.
Even to this day, though, it bothers me if there's no effort. Like, especially if it's a special occasion or something, and it's like, well, and I feel like it was no effort put into that. You don't care. All you did was just say, well, I was, but I void the whole thing. Now it doesn't mean anything because I don't care if you said I'm gonna make a handwritten card or whatever. It took you time and effort. It's the smallest things, but as long as you thought about it, to me, that lets me know that you were thinking about this prior to involving me in it. Right. So, and that to me means you had to make an effort. Just like when I go out on a whim and I'm like, I don't know if he's gonna like this, but I think this is pretty cool. It's like, damn, you thought about like it was an effort put into it.
Right. Even moments are acceptable like these where my husband would just bring a list of, or look, this place has this place has this place has this. Which one you want to do? Like, I'm okay with decisions like that. Right. But when I have to do the research and what's closest and what's our budget, that's when it's like, no, this is too much pressure.
Right. Like, just
he's never had done that.
He's still giving you like, all right, so these the options. It's an involvement, but it's not all inclusive. It's not all on you. Yeah. It's different. It's just not like, it's whatever,
I'm gonna tell you, dude's brave anyway, because I'm not gonna ask you where you want to go. Because if you say Roof's Chris, you know what I mean? Like, yo,
I wanted a steak. I ain't want Outback. What you mean? Yeah, I'm
like, you doing that on the first night on me?
Hey, you can get not Roof Chris.
Listen, you mean Outback?
That's my point. So that's my point. Right. You leave too much open. Like, what's the point?
And I ain't never picking no place that sell bottles of wine.
It says I can't see it, so I don't know if this is live.
Yeah, we live, yo.
From my page, maybe the simulcast isn't working correctly.
It's working. Well, I don't know.
Okay. Smitty, what question did you want to ask me?
I forgot.
You always forgetting. You gotta write it down.
You know what, Smitty? You done, bro. You can't. But nah, that's some real stuff, man. And I love how Jordan broke that down, because society will try to make men feel bad for being the way that we are. And then the average guy who's listening to society, who's listening to feminism, is trying to be the nice guy and wondering why he's still not winning.
Or he get a woman that's going to cheat on him.
Well, we got people in love with the box. Go ahead. I'll finish my statement. I'll remember this one.
Oh, you can go ahead. You can finish.
Well, people are too in love with the box, because we have a lot of men out here who call themselves feminists. Go ahead. And it's in a larger wave than what it's ever been. And
really?
Yeah. And if I was to try to throw those people into a category, they're virtue signaling.
She
And,
said, "Really? Look here. Go on my Instagram and look at that post that got all the views
at a really
God.
high degree.
with the chick saying that she wish she was a stay-home mom. Look at that later.
All right.
You gonna see plenty of male feminists out there. They out, and
Wow.
it's usually white liberals. I don't see it a lot with black men, to be honest, but
I posted something too about. I was like, agree. What do y'all think about agree or disagree? When it was like loving her means respecting this and respect, and I was just like, no, it doesn't. It's too much centered around her. Like that's the problem.
yeah,
What
I
are
would
you
like to see that post later too, because
Yeah.
man, because it's a lot of confusion in society around this. But I love what he said, that the women were drawn to men who were commanding, who were hyperly aggressive, but could tone it down and know when to utilize it. I told Jazz last night, I could not figure out for the life of me why the Twilight series was so huge. I thought it was the dumbest thing ever. And I've yet to meet a woman that did not freaking love Twilight. And now it finally hit me. It's the werewolf and the vampire love story. Exactly what Jordan Peterson talked about.
Excuse you?
Do you like Twilight?
Excuse you?
The
Because
idea,
first of all, oh my God, I'll be sitting here like
the movie.
the idea of having a man that could become a beast at any moment and tear somebody's head off.
it's nothing. And
was
sit there and be like, ugh.
It was perfect, Mark, and she gets be the one to calm him down.
Yeah. She's the only one that can.
Dark side to that though, too, though.
What's the dark side?
The options. She had a choice.
There you go.
We all have choices. Let's keep it real.
Yeah, what's dark about that?
We all got choices.
When you preach it, when you preach choices, or it was almost a preaching of you should always have a choice. That's the dark side of it. You should always have a choice.
A choice at what? Can you be specific what you're saying?
In relationships, like she had Edward, and I don't know the werewolf's name. Edward was the dude, the vampire.
The only one that
You
matters.
saying that she had the option between two different guys?
Yeah,
that's every modern woman in her 20s nowadays. If she ain't married,
that's my point.
They got the Rolodex now. Women, bro, I hear them brag about it. They brag about their rosters now.
I know you heard Lakia just saying that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
What?
they got
Hold on. What? I did what?
You just
Hold
heard
on, what
Lakia
you trying to
brag
say?
about it. Oh yeah, that's normal.
yeah,
Like
they got-
yo,
It is.
the
You
game
know
is
where
up-
I've seen the most trash go down?
Mhm.
At the casino. Horrible.
I wouldn't argue that with you.
Horrible.
crazy.
But
Give us an
the
example.
level of thirst.
Give us an example. What do you mean?
What you mean what I mean? The
What do
amount
you
of
mean?
the amount of people that gawked over any female dealer that had that remotely looked okay.
Oh, I see what you're saying now. Yeah.
It was almost uncomfortable. I always had if you probably never know. I don't even think I ever worked the same shift as you or in the same pit, but I always had a floor with me. Always.
Wow.
Uncomfortable.
I can see that.
Always. It was horrendous. But my point is like now it was a sense of or a case of the egos. Now it's not just one person making you uncomfortable. Now they gotta challenge one another and their egos and see, well, who gonna get this girl? You know what I mean? Like it was crazy.
Perfect
So
example.
even if it's not for the woman's
I said, who's gonna get away with the most nonsense?
exactly. And then even if it's not it's not even the women that were. I don't feel like that was even the point of it. I feel like it was more of a competition.
Right.
You know, they're going back and forth with one another. It's like who can beat on their chest the most, who can bet the most, and all of that. Even though they was losing anyway, you know. I used to talk so much garbage at them tables. I'd be like, go ahead and put it up there so I can take it. Like just doing what I was supposed to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
See, that's
just
funny that you give that perspective because for me it was like, come on, Phil, you taking all my money. Don't sit at his table.
right. They
You
want to be
used to say,
friends
put
with
it
the
up
one
there.
who got that mean looking face, they want to be friends with that one. They want to be cool with that one. But if you look like a itch on the table and you that little skinny mini and you all passive, they coming at you and talking real reckless to you. Yeah. It's all about perception.
Example of why I think these dudes are crazy for having their wives on these jobs. Why even have your wife?
I wasn't married then.
I have your wife going through that, and then you coming home with all of that garbage and nonsense that you got to unpack now before you get back to being a wife and a mom. I will pass.
Nah, that was, first of all, I'm not gonna lie to you. If I was married at that point, it was a lot of temptation. It would be a lot of temptation that is unnecessary.
Yeah, I bet. Let's segue a little bit. You said something earlier. We kind of touched on tradition, and then you got on to don't ask, don't tell. Elaborate on your thoughts on that if you can.
I think it applies to everything. Especially being in the military, it was always don't ask, don't tell. We don't need to know that. The less, the better. Just like I can incorporate that into marriage, I can incorporate that into legal situations. Don't say too much because it can be used against you in marriage. I'm not saying it's a little different in marriage, but don't ask how I'm feeling and I won't tell you right now when you piss me off about something stupid, like not putting the toilet seat down and I fell in. Stuff like that. You know what I mean? I'm just going to use a little teeny example because we can delve deep into that. But
I feel like you skating a little bit though. I'm gonna zoom in on this one. So
okay, go ahead.
When you say it can go with anything or even in marriage, don't ask, don't tell. So let's say
cheating.
Okay, I see where you're going now. I was thinking more along the lines of the policy itself and what it meant, though. Like, because the point of it was you can be gay, just don't say that you're gay. If we know you're gay, then there's an issue.
But that's the whole, even if that's specific, but even in a generalization, nobody can criticize you, talk, or have any decisions on something they don't know about. Why volunteer everything in the world? Let it be private.
Because you don't have to keep private that you're in a straight relationship.
That's how it's supposed to be. I don't care. I said it. God, I've been trying not to. That is what it is.
You're going to say it.
I feel you.
That's what it is. That's how the world is. That's how life is.
That's not a big surprise.
God.
So you're saying that being gay is an alternative lifestyle.
Say it again.
You're saying that being gay is an alternative lifestyle and that it's not the way that we are intended to live.
Correct.
As human beings. And is that biologically your stance, your scientifically, or is just your moral stance?
All of the above. But I mean, I always started, before I was even remotely religious, I was a facts-based person. I needed to see it. It needed to make sense. I majored in math, was my first subject in college. I need to see it. I need to be able to explain it. Okay. So we know the fact of the matter is you need a man and a woman to create life.
Pretty simple.
That's it. I don't feel like it's really difficult.
Pretty simple.
Everything else is a preference. Now, will I treat you different or discriminate or treat you horribly because of your preference? No. But do I think you need to share that with me? Also, no.
I may treat you different. I may treat you different, to be honest. And
I'm not going. I wouldn't.
Well, this is why I say that.
Okay. And I'm sure as a man, that's different.
Yeah, because the type of things, the closeness I would be willing to be with Smitty is not how I would be if I know he could be attracted to me.
So what if he told you he was gay tomorrow? You're going to immediately change?
Yes. And I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna change. This is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that I'm not gonna love him. I'm not saying that he can't call me no more.
The feeling is reciprocated as well. So you know what I mean.
He can't call me and we still be boys. But this is what I'm saying. If we go out of town, we might not be sharing a room.
And I feel the same way as a woman with gay women. I'm not going to do the same things that I would do with Lakia. I'm not going to undress in front of her.
Right.
And even with gay men, I'm going to treat you like a man. I'm not going to treat you like a woman. So you're going to get the same treatment. Like you can't be as close as a woman could be close.
Yeah, that's the biggest scam. Dude say he gay, he get to get in the locker room with y'all, and he get to be
No,
in
he
the
still got a
back
penis.
ride, getting dressed like. But that was my issue. Like when we was in the military, I think don't ask, don't tell was not repealed yet when I went through boot camp, and we butt naked 8 dudes in the shower. That's just how it was in boot camp, in the Navy boot camp at least.
Yeah,
we all in a circle around this shower, nuts hanging. That would be very uncomfortable if we know dude gay next to me.
Yeah.
Pass each other. Sometimes you're gonna bump somebody butt.
And there's
like,
generational gaps that exist as well. Like one of the most disgusting places you can go as a man is the YMCA, because generational gaps exist there. So being a millennial, walking in there and then just seeing a boomer just chilling in there, boy, like. So yeah,
that ain't just a lot, bro.
Start naked.
Yeah, they don't care.
Just chilling in that boy.
I feel like the why should be not used for that though.
I'm just trying to get in the pool. That's all I'm trying to do. And it's just an old guy in there who don't care. Just a boomer in there who don't care. Leg up on the wall, no towel on, no nothing. Just sitting in there, boy, just chilling. Like if Phil did that to me, like and if the plan was to go link back up in my crib, I'd be like, hey bro, man, something popped up. I'll talk to you later.
I'm gonna tell you something
to see that. You know what I mean? Like we know the limits. Like millennials, when it comes down to that, like yo, going to swimming class. Anybody in here who swam in PE, we took our showers with our shorts on.
What?
Or did y'all?
You did what?
We took our showers after getting out of the pool with our shorts on.
Oh yeah. I mean, the females did.
And then we would take turns going into the stalls and putting.
You said in PE?
Yeah, because we had class. Yeah, in PE.
For kids, bro. Like at that age, y'all gonna joke each other penis sizes and stuff like that. Like, you know, when you a man, you pass that stuff.
Nah, I mean, like the whole, like my thing is, I know I have family members, I know people that are gay and all that, and to me the difference becomes where they're living their lives and they're doing it for themselves, but they're not trying to create all of these.
Yeah, I seen that too. I know what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like they're like, we doing what we doing because this is what we want to do solely, not for everybody else to be involved.
I definitely respect that far more.
Yeah, and that's what I'm okay with that. But I don't like the treat me differently and more special because, like, no.
Well, this is what I'm saying. When I say this is another thing that would have to change. If you are a gay man, you cannot watch my kids unsupervised. Because this is how I see it. You could be attracted to my little boys. And we got to go there. This is what people don't like. And I said could. I am not by no means saying that every gay person is a pedophile.
Right.
And I don't even know if I'm allowed to use these words, but whatever.
Don't say that.
But the issue is this. Most who choose that lifestyle have a history of being taken advantage of as a child that confused their sexuality.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
So with me knowing that, I would be a fool to allow you to possibly repeat that cycle with my child.
I don't trust anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, let's take it a step further.
Nothing.
I think that's I think that's safety, but I think that it's a flaw. Our counterpart, our the people that came up before us, the village that they had. I think we should create that again. And I think people are so weary of other people that they're afraid to create a village.
Yeah,
And a village does not necessarily mean that someone has full right, like old school traditional village traditions to whoop your kid or something of that nature.
what does it mean?
If your kid is setting a fire outside, and nobody knows what you give your kids permission to do. Like my daughters, my younger daughters now, because I have two, well, I have one grown daughter, and then I have a son that'll be grown this coming up December. My 9-year-old or my 6-year-old, or when TJ gets older, when if they see them outside like trying to set like paper and stuff on fire, and they're like, you know what? I'm about to tell your daddy on you. That's cool. That's a village still. A village doesn't necessarily mean access to children. It just means communication.
I don't see the point of it. Then I had a different idea of a village. So I guess what you're saying, I don't see no issue with.
Yeah, well, the village was communication. The only separate part is the putting on of hands, and I kind of understand that to a certain point because trauma is at an all time high, and you don't want anybody to spank your kids who that's a fetish for.
I would like to see communities go back to where if my kids outside doing something crazy and they mama catch it, somebody else mama catch it, they gonna come to me and be like, yo, your
Right.
son doing this. I think I can respect that.
But
But
well, a
maybe
community like see because this is the point of community. It's not you just knowing your neighbor that stays that stays right next to you. It's you knowing the neighbor across the street. It's you knowing the neighbor who stays next to the neighbor who stays across the street from you. It's you knowing that the person that stays across from you and that other person. That's
I had that dude down the street, man. I'm mad he moves away. He used to always watch my house. He used to tell me, hey man, I seen this van pull up. Were you expecting somebody? Yeah, I went and got my gun just in case. And I'm
that's
like,
good.
oh, for real. Yeah,
That's a village.
yeah. I feel that. I feel that.
So, like a village doesn't mean access to your children. It just means protection. We are all looking out for one another. Like whether it be your children, it could be your wife. It's like, yo, I just saw some weird ass dude walk up to your wife, and then you're like, the fuck? Like I ain't had no repairman coming over today. And
Right.
then that's a whole nother fucking conversation you had.
Right.
You know what I mean? But a village creates communication and it gives you a full perspective of what's going on around you that your ring doorbell can't see or your security cameras can't necessarily catch when you're not checking them. You know what I
You gotta
mean?
be open to that though. You gotta be open to that. It's too many people that mind your business and my kids this, my kids that, and
That's me. I think my problem with the village, Smitty, is that most people just don't think like me, bro. I'm gonna have somebody in the village that's gonna have something to say when they find out my kids ain't vaccinated. That's the world we're in today. It's not the same anymore. You get what I'm saying?
I hear you.
Well, that's probably why you got to make sure you got to make sure that village is like-minded.
Right.
nah. I mean,
And that's hard to do if you're talking your immediate community.
Right.
True.
That's not a village. That's an enemy. That's an enemy in your community. But like,
That's been my experience with most people on the outside.
I mean, my thing is, I have the broadest.
that's understandable, and it's really
people.
hard for me to speak against that. You know what I
I
mean?
have the
Because
broadest. I can respect anybody to an extent. I don't. This is what I mean about the whole "don't ask, don't tell" type of thing. Until you said that, I wouldn't have known that. But at the same time, even if I do know that, that doesn't change my perspective. I don't really, I'm not saying I don't care, like, F them kids. I'm not saying it like that. I'm just saying it like, okay, I respect your decision. Right. Just like politically, that's why you never talked about religion, politics, and something else, because it, it creates this awkward whatever. Does that mean I'm gonna stop talking to y'all because we got different views on stuff? No.
But do you think that's what everybody's gonna do, or most?
No. I understand that people.
I've seen people make remarks about it. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm like, it can become dangerous if you are not in the matrix to form a village with people who are in the matrix.
Have you watched Law and Order?
There's a certain thing though.
Hold on, Smitty. Hold on. You watch Law and Order?
Yeah.
You or Jazz? Y'all watch Law and Order? Anybody? Did you see the episode about the unvaccinated child and one of the kids that were vaccinated or something end up dying, but they tried to, it was based off a true story. They tried to jail the parents that didn't vaccinate the child. Perfect. Like it was that extreme. Yeah. So I understand, and it's easy. It was people that didn't agree with it.
Yep.
And they were showing all aspects. They didn't agree with it, but they were like, it's easier for me to seem like I agree because they didn't want to have to face the backlash.
Mm-hmm.
So
and that's another thing. Most people, it ain't that they want to be your enemy. They're just afraid to join the fight.
Exactly.
Right.
They don't want the backlash that comes with aligning with you, even when you're right.
Right.
I've realized that we live in a society full of cowards. And people will throw you under the bus just to fit in.
Yeah.
So, or they'll hide their ideas and nobody really knows who they really are.
I send you a private message like, hey, I actually agree with that, but I just don't want to have to put myself out.
I gotta say this about you and Phil.
I'm gonna let you hang on the cross alone.
I gotta say this about you and Driscoll. So I think y'all can spot that because I can almost spot it. You can spot people with masks on.
Mm-hmm.
I also have the belief that more sensible people exist than the loud minority. The loud people who do crazy, unsensible things to that nature, they're a minority of people. But I mean, of course, before you start a village, it's like you can start a village in your community, and just because you start a village doesn't mean that one dude that's the weirdo is a part of your village. It's like, all right, well, of course, you don't share all of your personal business with everybody, but it's kind of like, well, if you ever see my kids outside starting fires because, you see that my kids are relatively young, anything of that nature, let us know.
Yeah.
And when you start relationships like that, that means that they tell you before the police pop up and start asking you a bunch of weird ass questions that you don't need to be asked.
You can see that with people who've been around for a long time too. Like when we bought this house, the next door neighbor, I was like, oh shit. Like we was moving stuff. I was like trying to avoid it. And she came running down the little driveway and I'm like, hi. Like I wasn't in the mood, but I'm just like, it was necessary. And she made sure like she introduced herself to me. And then she's like, if you need anything, she was like, I'll tell you about this and that. And I was like, okay, like because we have our house, like our garage is shared. So we're paired, I guess you could say. And then the man across the street, like they've been there. He came across and shook our hand. But then the ones next to him, younger, rent, don't really give a damn. Not saying that all renters are like that, because as a renter, I wasn't like that. They don't even speak. So it depends on, and I feel like it's strictly because of the age and the fact that they've been there and they care about their community and who's there. And they want to know, well, who the hell moving over here? You know what I'm saying? Like I like that.
You're right. That is a difference maker, though. Home buyers and renters on the large scale is an extreme difference because you're more invested in the community. When you go home. Yeah, that's the truth.
I mean,
go ahead, Gail.
To jump on that. I mean, to be honest with you, because all that matters. But essentially, anywhere you go, you're gonna have to build your own community through you by your own discernment anyway. Itself here, you're gonna have to talk to people. You're gonna have to get to know them, and depending on which ones that you get that sense from is the ones that you go with. Because, like Smitty said, everybody ain't part of your community itself here. You talk to people, you can feel that vibe. You can say, nah, let me go away from that. When you talk to the other person and you be like, hey, we got something in common. You don't tell them that, hey, we got something in common. And then some things you might want to divulge and stuff, for some things they may notice and things like that. And you let the community kind of build itself towards you, rather than everybody trying to come together most of the time. That's the way that it really needs to happen. And if it wants to go bigger than that, then we go bigger than that. But you let the community kind of build its own by you talking and getting discernment from everybody else. That's the way that I feel that we really need to go individually everywhere, and then get everybody on board that we want to get on board.
I'm not in 100% agreement with that. I stay to myself. I feel like that's more of David's position than mine. Like, he's the one shaking hands and stuff like that. This is, my family, this is where we at, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I ain't doing all that. Now, like I said, his wife, the man next door, and you could tell because he don't talk to me. And I'm fine with that. Like, I don't take it like he dislikes me or he's rude. Like, he'll speak because it's like, hey, how you doing? But he'll like come up to David, shake his hand, and like have a little small talk, but because they're men. You know what I mean? Absolutely. I'm not trying to go. I don't feel like that's what I should be doing. And well, I speak, but that's it,
I agree with you. I think that doesn't necessarily take from Kel's point. I think you making a valid point too, because regardless of the village, you don't get access to my wife. You know what I mean? Like if you got a message between men to pass between families, you bring that to me. And the same goes for other. Like I'm never, like I said, with the dude with the AK, like I would, hey, how you doing, to the lady that lived there, but me and him had all the conversations, and my wife did the same thing. When he came around, she go in the house, high and by. So I feel you on that. I don't think that's bad that you see it that way.
Yeah, the guy, like our neighbor across the street, his wife, I rarely see her, but I see him a lot. And it's just as simple. I'm socially awkward until you know me. Like, I'm just not this person all the time. Like, a lot of people say I got like the rest in B face and all that. I look mean. I like it that way, and I prefer that because it makes you feel like, well, I can't just approach her with some dumb stuff anyway. So I'm content with that. Yeah. But I'll say, hi, do the little wave and keep it moving. But I'm not trying to converse and all that type.
Yeah.
When I was in Philly,
go ahead.
When I was in Philly, I literally made myself have the rest in B face, because especially out there, the men, they were dogs, untrained dogs. And I hate to say that, but it's hard for I got my hand grabbed just for walking on the bus. Yeah. Hey, no. And they don't have so I used to have to put on that hard barrier so men wouldn't even look my way.
And then don't turn them down in front of people. F you then B, and I'm just like, okay. Looking back, I had the worst jobs possible. I always had the worst jobs. I worked for the post office. What was I doing working at the post office down Southwest? What? Are you kidding me? And it was summertime.
Yeah.
Draining. It's just a whole different heat over there.
And I think that's a valid point, because people think that we're supposed to be some kind of friend circle and shit. And I'm like, listen, that's my issue with the village thing. I'm not doing that. I'm just not. Like, if you're
not coming over each other's house, don't.
Yeah,
man, that. Like I feel as though the village aspect is so like undervalued, because it's like my wife. There's a lot of women who stay around here, and I know it. And this is like anecdotal. If you stay in the area where homeowners and things of that nature stay or whatever, I'm connected by everything, because men don't ask a lot of questions. We don't ask like, oh, what happened? What time did it happen? What's his name? Or any of that shit. We're not asking those questions. But the women that my wife is connected to, I know everything that happened. Like I know the past of my neighborhood because of the women that stay here.
She's nice.
But it's not a super friendly like, well, you get a biased pass because you give me this information. Therefore, we will never ever watch you or think of you to never do us any harm or anything of that nature. It's like, well, yeah, you are completely able to do us harm or in things of that nature. It's not a vulnerable state. It's just the creation of a community.
I don't really care to know about the past of my neighborhood, though. I'm good. That don't mean nothing to me. I don't value that.
Look at Smitty face.
I mean, well, I mean, well, given where you stay, it can mean it can mean a little or it can mean a lot because given the information that you get, it could be like, well, shit, we need to get out of here in the next year.
Nah, I'm gonna tell you. I kind of got cool with the guy who's a retired police officer out here. I've heard that this neighborhood used to be rough, but then he told me some things. He told me of bodies being found that were linked back to the cartel and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of disturbing. And I wish he didn't tell me because
Right, it
now
makes you paranoid.
here I am. We in a quiet cul-de-sac. I don't have any issues. I'm paranoid now. I think most of the stuff that's going on out here in the world, like we are blind to. Then I watch the news and I'd be like,
the fact that you don't know and the fact that you don't want to share or be a part of the community automatically shows that already.
Yeah, I don't want to know.
But what does it change though? Like that's my thing. What does it change? Literally, I could obviously when it was time to buy the house or whatever, you looking for safe areas and good school districts and all of that. But if you want to be completely honest, you could be the first person that mass murder happened to. Yeah. You could be. So why do I care about how it used to be?
Exactly.
And all that's going to do is make me more antsy. Yeah. And now I got to be living in fear. I'd rather not.
Well, all right. The way that I look at this, all right.
I can tell you now, if I found out somebody died in my house, I'm going to think it's a ghost in here.
I can partake in the renter's state of mind. But if you are in a community of people to where you own a home, does anybody in here have a mortgage?
Yeah.
If you have a mortgage, it's important to have a community because you're stuck there for a certain amount of time.
No, you're not.
You're changing the conversation now, though, from community to village. We were talking about a village.
Well, yeah, you become a part of a village by having a mortgage.
Yeah, you're not stuck. You can move.
Yeah, you're not.
To your point, let's say you bought the house.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying your village taught you what the neighborhood used to be like. That means you already are there.
That was a form, but that was a really, really low resolution way of me explaining everything.
Right. But at that point, you're already there. So you're going to leave the house because of what it was 15 years ago?
What is it doing for you today?
Yeah, you're still stuck. It's the only thing it does is create fear. When I lived in Philly, what gave me peace was not watching the news. When I start watching the news, I'm like, holy shit, we got to get out of here. I found out a kid got shot in the head a block away. That's when we finally moved. If I never watched the news, we'd probably still be there.
Well,
I don't know about that. Look at this.
If you think the history of the neighborhood is all murder and things of that nature, then I understand. And
whatever it is, I don't care.
I also understand because sometimes knowing the history of your neighborhood can give you peace if you live in a peaceful area. Sometimes
and you could be the first one that gets shot up. Yeah. It doesn't matter. That's my point. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean crime is not going to happen here. That's why when it finally happens, it's breaking news because it's used to be such a safe neighborhood. And oh my God, I can't believe he did that shit.
I just seen stories like that where you will be in the nice neighborhood and somebody followed you home from the jewelry store to rob you in your garage.
Right. It's to me, I'd rather not. I don't watch the news. My mom
All
watches
the news involved in this.
because
If
that's
I
what
can ask.
broadcasts everything that's negative anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that
Ain't
has
no
nothing to
positive.
do with the village or anything of that
It
nature.
does. You was talking about the history of the neighborhood.
Right.
Yeah, but I was talking about the neighborhood, talking about the history of the neighborhood,
Where
not
they
the news telling me what happened. I didn't say I watch the news every day to see what happened in this neighborhood. So therefore, I picked this neighborhood to live in because nobody is involved in any crime. It's like always protect yourself or whatever, but and you don't always have to be super close. Like, hey, you know what? This is where I keep the hidden key for my house. Like
oh
you don't have to go that far into that to have a village. A village still can provide protection for their wives. A wife can still be protective of her husband. Like, yo, it just creates another dynamic. I mean, if you don't agree with it, then it's like
yeah.
it is what it is.
I
But
ain't
yeah.
I do gotta announce real quick. Kel got to get off. I want to give him his chance to say his piece, his final words, whatever. And thanks for coming out, bro.
Thank you.
Welcome here. I mean, Smitty, to the point of the village here, I understand what you're saying about it, but just in today's age and where we at, it is just it ain't gonna be like that. Itself here, as much as we would want it. So people too much about themselves today, and they care too much about themselves instead of being for everybody else. So that's it here. But yeah, I gotta go because I gotta be clocked back in like 4 hours. So
Word. Get some rest, man. We appreciate you.
all right, see
All
you.
right, good night.
Bye.
See you.
Yeah,
But
I'm along Kel's ideology on that. I just don't think we're in that time anymore, personally.
but I think it could happen. It could happen if something like a big travesty happened, or something where people will have to come together to join in their resources or something like that. But in this day and age, it wouldn't be beneficial, really.
I
All
think
right.
to
I
a
mean,
degree,
So
I
in
don't.
my explanation of what a village was, because I didn't explain um complete accessibility to you. Give me the negative about the village
I don't see
No,
the
because it's
value.
not complete accessibility to yourself.
It don't got to be negative. It's great with the right people. I just don't see the value in taking the chance. I don't believe there's enough of the right people around me to do that.
yeah, and plus, I'm gonna just say I'm selfish, and overprotective, and all of the above. And if you even smile and show your back teeth while you smiling and saying hi to David, I already don't. You doing too much. Like, no, we're good. See,
I
stay
don't.
over there, and when we pull up, you need to we skirt right in the driveway. Like, I don't like all that friendliness.
I
No.
don't genuinely believe most people nowadays in America will honestly approach it the way that you're presenting it, Smitty.
How did I present it though? What's my
Like, everybody's
presentation?
genuine.
Bro.
No, I did not. I did not do that.
I'm
But
saying what
we
I'm
can
just
skip past it because I didn't say that everybody's genuine. I just said get to know the people. The general consensus of what I was saying is get to know the people around you, so that way the people around you can see the things that happen around you. So I didn't say that people can put their hands on your kids or people can come up and just hug your wife. But like, say your kids are setting fires in your front yard and your neighbor tells you like, hey, I just saw your kid with paper towel in the front yard setting a fire in your front yard, you at least have that for somebody to give you a call. I didn't say that people are going to be perfect.
Nah.
And if you can give me any like extra, like what else did I add to the village that made it seem perfect?
Nobody said, I didn't say that you made it seem perfect. I just think that you're a genuine soul and you see benefits over risks.
No, I just believe that I'll have imperfect allies.
so do you practice this now?
Yes, I'm cool with everybody. The dude across the street over here in a direct in the direct position that I'm pointing, the dude that stays across the street from me, that is a part of the community that I live in. He's not Christian or anything of that nature. He's a Muslim, but I talk to everybody, and I'm connected damn near to everybody that I surround myself with.
I don't
That's
like
I
that.
I'd rather know you, because to me, to know you, even if I introduce myself to you and I can have conversations with you, it tells me certain things about you and whether or not I should not kick it with you.
Bingo.
So even in trying to start a community or whatever, and learning people, it's like, oh shit, well that motherfucker's crazy.
That's why I don't want to talk to you.
All right,
You
well,
make inferences. You make inferences immediately. It don't. It could be the smallest conversation. You make inferences immediately. It could be used as a positive, but nah. And I know that the inference is going to be made that David a little too nice, which leads to
yeah,
more
I
comfort and
understand that.
friendliness that I'm not having that. So then I got to get all crazy eyed and be like,
But see, your argumentation towards me is relationship based, because you don't want
that's
anybody
all
to
that
flirt with
matters.
your husband.
That's
Yeah,
all that matters. The
okay.
relationship, the marriage, the all of that, that matters first.
yeah.
Yeah, I just and people just don't really the issue with this, and although it's great, people just don't understand boundaries sometimes, and it's just awkward having to lay out those boundaries. It's just like, why even go there? Yes, it's good to know each other's face, maybe smile, hi, how you doing? But at least for me personally, I don't feel the need to get to know you, or introduce each child to you so you know each and every child's name.
I never said that.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
because
never said that.
I don't see what you're saying. What makes it a village then?
Communication, just being able to
Village.
talk to each other. Well, look, bro, I don't have to introduce you to every one of my kids to be like, hey, I'm a married dude and I have 5 kids.
Right. But when you say village, what
When you see kids outside of my house, then you know. Even if they're not my kids, say they're my niece or my nephew, still, I wouldn't necessarily say this is the part of the village, because I completely agree with what Kale said. In the time and the day that we live in, there's a lot of weird people out here. But a communicative village that you have means a lot.
right. But when you say village, maybe the word you're using is throwing us off because most people, when you say village, they're thinking of a group of people collectively trying to preserve traditions and values within a community.
Well,
You think
a
culture,
village is a little bit smaller than a city. And everybody in the city doesn't necessarily coincide or relate on every aspect. But I mean, we could segue into another conversation, because I don't want to derail this and just stick on this one subject.
okay. So we kind of touched on don't ask, don't tell. You also brought up they, them, pronouns, gender ideologies, all of that thing today.
Let's talk about the homeschooling thing that you and Jazz are doing.
Yeah, we're gonna get there, but first we're gonna talk about the gender ideology thing that Lakia brought up. Do you feel like there is a cultural agenda with that, or do you think it's the same as the way you see don't ask, don't tell, where it's just people need to learn how to mind their business?
yeah. And I don't feel like you need to burden me with trying to learn that you want to be multiple people because you one day. I feel like it's all escape and accountability and reality.
Why? Because we didn't grow up hearing this stuff. This is kind of new to
Right.
this current time that we in. So where do you think it's coming from? Why do y'all think this is happening now?
Because you can get it's an excuse to get away with things, and it's like a cult.
it's a victim Olympics. I
Yep.
can the biggest victim. I can be the biggest person that needs to be coddled and taken care of. And I don't have to take accountability for anything because I am I have these issues. Or now at this point, it's being accepted is not even an issue. This is just how we're born. This is just what it is. And you need to accept it because this is natural.
I
Natural.
was told, somebody told me that it's evolution. Well, not me directly, but I was watching a live and they said that it's evolution, that chromosomes change.
Oh. Evolution is a whole topic that I don't even care about because I don't believe it. For the most part, the way people talk about evolution now is hogwash, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the interview with the guy and the woman, and they were talking about the mom having a baby, and the gentleman was like, when women have babies, and the woman said, "You mean mothers? Because not all women are the only ones that have babies." And he started smiling, and he's like, "Okay," and
You're
she's like,
talking about
"I
Michael Knowles.
identify."
Michael
Huh?
Knowles of you're talking about Michael Knowles of the Daily Wire. I know you're
I
talking about.
I don't know his name, but that's probably you
Mm.
probably know exactly what I'm talking about. And she
And
she
only
said,
takes a couple of seconds for you to realize somebody's gender and da 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 da. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And he was like, okay, so at the end of this conversation, I would like to identify as being correct on this matter, and I need you to accept that. And she was like, because that's essentially what you're saying, is you're using it as an excuse for something. And I'm not saying that, listen, you could want, I identify as single.
Great.
Respect it.
It's a
I'm
it's
gonna
a
go out here and deal with these men and everything else. I'm identifying as single.
No, this is the thing, Lakia, and I love where y'all are going. I think it's more devious because now I can identify as 8. I'm no longer wrong for dating an 8-year-old. I think
When
that's
is enough
where it's really
enough?
intended. I think that's where it really wants to go.
Yeah, when is enough enough? Just like
I mean,
on social media, they got this grown man that identifies as a woman getting backlash because he went into the female bathroom. I would go crazy if I'm in there with my daughter.
Listen,
You
I would
have
get
male
arrested.
parts.
I get
Full
arrested for a
beard.
hate crime because I'm taking his head off.
Full beard.
I think he showed me that, and he was big dude, big
Yeah.
burly man talking about he's a
Yeah.
woman, and
But
the
now
woman,
it's discrimination if you gender
Height.
neutral
and that's my
bathrooms.
thing with the they them and all of it. The fact that they're trying to push it on us, especially our children, that is where it's they've crossed the line a long time ago. It's
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's a bunch of cowards.
it's not just let me love who I want to love. It's you better
Right.
accept me and teach your children that it's acceptable to be like me.
No.
And that's not no, it's not acceptable in my house. So I'm not going to teach my children this. That's why if we did like Driscoll said, if we had a friend say that I'm gay now, things would change because I'm raising my children a certain way. I'm not saying that they can't love this person. I'm not saying any of that. I'll even talk to them about it so they can understand and not to treat them badly. But now we know to walk accordingly. That means certain things aren't allowable, which would never be like my daughter sitting on a man's lap.
Yep.
That's not allowable.
Yep.
So this man that it happens to be gay now can't babysit my kids.
Right. Or my son can't sit on his lap now.
Or his son.
I might not care about my son sitting on his uncle lap, but if the uncle gay, we're gonna have to change that.
Listen, my dad, so my kids, they're not really super close with anybody in my family except for my mom and my brother. That's the consistent, like that's who they see all the time, right? And my brother, he don't even like, so my mom, I'm just real quick. My daughter was staying the night over my mom's house and my brother was there and she was crying because She like, I want to go. My mom was like, go get in the shower. Like, let's go get in the shower. So she took her upstairs and everything. And she was like, come downstairs and get dressed. And she's like, I can't. And she's freaking out. So she called me. And I'm like, Mom, take her clothes to her. She knows there's men in that house. It's not acceptable. She's like, she's a little girl. This is her family. Exactly. But is that, and I'm just like, and my mom was like, okay, you right. Like, I don't walk around in my underwear. You're not about to do it. You know what I'm saying? You have little brothers. My sons don't even, they close the door and take their stuff into the shower, like, and they're 4 and 5, and they get dressed in there and they're like, Mommy, like, like if I come in there and I'm like, boy, you came out of me. But, that's just the way that it is. So it's not acceptable. But my dad, we went over there and my daughter, he's like, give me a kiss on my cheek. And she's like, and I'm like, Cameron, I'm like, it's your grandfather. Like, it's okay. But he was like, she got to get permission I'm your father. And he felt offended. And I said, excuse me, she's a little girl. Yeah. And who's she kissing on? Her dad not even that affectionate. So she's not, you know what I mean?
See, that's one thing I don't play, Lakia. If you show offense to my child's boundaries, I'm going to start limiting your time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a red flag for me. Why does that bother you?
Me and Driscoll talked about this way back in the End Time Soldiers days or whatever. I think you even posted the video about this. Like, bro, I don't go with my wife's purse. My daughters know that it's not okay for a man to go inside your purse. When my daughters, I don't help my daughters with baths. Their mother does that. And when I walk past, if that door is open, my daughter would be like, Daddy, don't look at me. Never done nothing to offend my daughter. But if I can't see you like that, then no other dude should ever see you in that light as well.
Exactly.
That is creating a boundary. And when people don't respect those boundaries,
that's the problem. Big.
That's something. Because I was like, the other day I looked, I said, Cameron, go upstairs. And I looked, I'm like, where's your shirt? Like, I know this your house and all of that, but she was like, ew, Dad, what is your, like, because she's not used to seeing everybody just be covered up. That's just, I wear, like, I always have a jacket on. It's rare unless I'm having me a little personal summer that I'm having my arms, like, it's just a sense of security. Unless, like, I was on vacation or something, that might be different if I'm in, like, a tropical area. But in general, that's just who I am. I don't know. It's just who I am. And my kids are going to be the same way. Not exactly the same, but I don't want them to be comfortable like that.
So Archie Rose said, I'm really feeling this neighbor discussion. I know almost everybody on my entire street. I find it crazy how many of my neighbors have no idea how cool their next door neighbor is. It's crazy. Yeah, I'm that guy, man. I have no clue who's cool out here. And I'm fine with it. I don't know, but I get your point, Archie, and I'm gonna pray on that. But at the same time, I'm building my village internally. I guess I just don't need the outside. I don't know.
Do you feel like it's validation, or people seek validation through?
I don't talk to my neighbors for validation at all.
I wasn't asking you because I know you're for it, but I'm asking more.
Well, it's not necessarily that I'm for it, because I'm introverted by nature. Like, right. I stick to myself when it comes down to it. So, like, even the protections that I really didn't want to jump back into this conversation.
Well.
But it's like this. Like, will I always protect my wife and my kids? Like, yeah. Am I ever going to be like, hey, man, go check on my wife for me? Hell no.
Right.
Well, to me, that's not a village then, bro. That's I don't see the value in the investment if I can't do that.
But I don't think you'd ever do that.
I would, with the right people in the right situation. Absolutely. If I'm on a flight somewhere and I see my Ring doorbell go off, I would love to have
Oh,
someone I
okay.
can send over
Okay.
there with an AR-15. I would love that.
Okay. I got you. All
Yeah.
right.
Hey, go check it out, man. Something weird happened and I can't reach the wife. I think that's excellent to have.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, yeah, outside of just a direct community that I live in, I look at you like a brother, like more than a brother from another mother. Like I look at you like family. So, and when it came down to it or whatever, I know you have your own wife, but that's not the only thing that keeps it in solidarity. It's like, well, one, if I ever made an advance towards your wife, then you already know she'll tell you, and that's the end of our friendship.
Yeah, but that's not the only issue.
How is I'm
And then it's the same thing on that other level. Uh, a lot of people just have this like level of somebody's going to cross them, and it stops them from having like immediate communities that they can have. Like I know people are crazy, and I know we're surrounded by monsters and psychopaths on a daily basis. I most definitely get where you're coming from. So as you guys are giving me like your argumentation for why you don't do it, like please don't like take me giving you like pushback as I don't understand where you're coming from. I
I
understand where
don't
you're
take it
coming
that
from.
way. I don't take it that way
Yeah.
at all.
I think what's hard to get for a lot of people is that the wife and I are more vocal about our views than anybody else in our lives. I think I don't see you even talk much openly about the things that we talk about on the phone. So that's what I'm saying. The people in our life typically have an opinion on us because we put ourselves out there for them to have an opinion. So the problem is a trust issue because the majority of the people in our lives that were the closest betrayed us.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about a village where we are constantly betrayed by blood, it just doesn't make sense at this point. When we just feel like the type of life we live now, the direction we're going, the things that we value do not align with most human beings anymore. And if we find a village, it's going to be through this online communities, people
For
from
sure.
different places that may not live next to us or where we are, but still align with our views. And we can connect that way and say, hey, I'm going to be doing this, and you know what I mean, in that manner. But as far as just the average everyday people, most of the time it's always a problem when they find out who we are and what we believe in, even on the simple level of our marriage values.
Yeah.
They find out our marriage dynamic is a problem. We
And
get
that's what I was
women
gonna
criticizing my wife for being a housewife.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
literally
Can,
go
can,
ahead.
can,
Sorry, Jess.
and planting
can I ask
seeds.
y'all a question about that though? Can I ask you and family values a question about that?
Yeah, she
Do
just
you
wanted to
think
say, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
do you think that you possibly get pushback because a majority of the places that you live at are in large cities?
Possibly.
Do you think that if you lived in a rural area that you would get that pushback?
I think it
And
doesn't
then
matter.
that's possibly why you don't have that community? Like
No, that's
me,
not why. Hold on. That's not why. I'm gonna tell
okay.
you, if you start to be more vocal as we are tomorrow, you're gonna be where we are. Yeah, that is not why.
All right. So hold
Not to
on.
mention, wait, let me. I've been trying to
This
get
is
this out for the longest.
Go ahead.
Not only is it just our ideals that turn people off, it's the way that we move as well. Because our ideals isn't just something we talk about it; we live it.
With it.
So,
Yeah.
for example, like I'm not answering the door if my husband's not home. So you gonna know I'm home. You probably hear the kids in the house, and you're gonna be offended because I've looked through that peephole and did not open it. And the way that we move on
People
those
have a
type of
problem.
levels,
People have a problem with that.
People have a problem with that. Like, you know me. Why? What was the issue? And it's like, it's not even particularly you. This is just something I don't do.
Right. I'll tell somebody I don't want a man changing my baby girl's diapers. I taught my 12-year-old daughter how to do that. Nick, I'm telling you, people will get offended and say, "Nigga, what you trying to say? I ain't gonna touch no kid." Yes, that happens.
But who's arguing about that though?
You asking me that now?
Yeah, who's arguing about wanting to change a diaper?
The same way you
That's
just
weird.
had about your dad about kissing your daughter, that actually happened. Now it wasn't an argument, but someone has actually presented the idea that that's offensive to them.
Oh, that's weird to me.
They were offended because they babysat our kids and our oldest was changing the diapers, and they felt like, I got it, go play.
And she like, no, my parents told me to do this.
And so this person has expressed to me they are offended by the idea that someone would even need to have those protections against them. And I'm like, it ain't against you, it's against anybody.
Right.
These are constant issues we have with the people in our lives because they think that our boundaries are too much to them. So they want to criticize or thwart them altogether. That has happened. Where it'll be a family member that I don't deal with anymore, and my kids will be at another family member's house, video chatting the family member that I don't deal with.
No.
That literally happened to me. That's what I'm saying. These are the issues that we have with these types of relationships. People think that they can make their own values for what should be important, and they don't want to have to respect our values. I don't do people like that. When you at my house, your rules apply for your kids. If you don't give your kids ice cream, they're not gonna get ice cream on my table. But everybody else don't think they have to live that way.
Don't tell your mama them I gave you this. That's what happens.
That's the culture we in now.
I feel where you guys are coming from.
We're in a culture now where somebody might take my kid to CVS to get a COVID shot.
Yeah.
Because they think it's saving their life. And then I'm going to be in freaking upstate somewhere.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And to me, and I stay in the Midwest. And I don't stay
homeschool in the first place. But go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead, Smitty.
I stay in the Midwest. So particularly that thing isn't a big thing. If I stayed in like Chicago, it would probably be like a bigger issue. But where I stay at, it's mixed. Because
I have the same problem with people in your city that have the same opinions of me.
What color are they?
Who do I know that ain't black in your city?
But I mean, like that's generally like even kind of like a lot of our content is pointed towards. It's people who have this traditional view or whatever, and people can have their tradition. Hey, by all means, run with it, but that's not everybody. That's really anecdotal.
It doesn't even, you don't even have to be traditional. Even traditional people disagree with how we do things.
And then even in this, like you even said, you were like, well, you're not as out there with your views as we are. No, I don't share everything that I believe on like social media and everything. But anybody that I come into contact with, I am not ashamed by any means to share anything that I believe in. Now, I probably don't get conflict the way that you guys get conflict is because I talk to people on a one-on-one basis. So, and then plus, let's add on to this. I don't know what people are saying when I'm not there. So they could be like, oh yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. And then when I leave there, they're like, this nigga's crazy. This nigga done lost his damn mind. Like, we don't know where the hell this nigga coming from. He talking about believing Jesus alone, bro. Yo, we gotta have some discipline in here. Or you know what I mean? Like,
and people with those kind of thoughts about you, you will always sense it if you have any discernment, and you will also see the way that they move around you. And you won't be able to trust them. So it's pointless to try to keep relationships like that when they're talking behind your back anyways.
Exactly. Real
Yeah.
quick, hold on, real quick. WT Funk is this. May I join the panel in the future to speak about homeschooling? I'm gonna drop the link. You can join right now.
It's another comment too.
Yep. Let me backtrack because we got a few comments. Let me drop this link and then I'm gonna backtrack on that. But go ahead, Smitty. You still talking?
What was the last thing that I said? So I can continue.
I have no clue.
That you don't know what people saying behind your back.
Yeah. So people are not like definites ever. Like, I mean, I'm super cool with y'all and never ever in the slightest would I ever, even if I disagree with y'all, like I've come down on posts that you guys have made and I disagreed with it, but I wasn't like disrespectful, like fuck y'all or anything of that nature.
You're trying to make yourself the standard though. Me and you have had years of time for you to fully understand why I am the way I am.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, it looks like it changed overnight. They don't receive it the way you do. You also are a man who also has a unique set of values that differ than the culture. Most of the people in my life are typical people. So they don't want to accept ideas from people like us because they think it's unnecessary. That's the difference. You are also an anomaly. So that's what I meant when I said I can find that community on the internet and things like that. But as far as around me, I'm not having that success. I do want to address a couple comments. Taylor said, how do you plan to organize Drisso Go if that was ever a goal of yours? Can you elaborate on what you mean by organize? Because I don't want that question to go on the wayside. But he also says, so by building internally, you mean slowly integrating people based on similar goals? Yes, in the long run, but what I actually literally meant was I'm building my village inside my home, which means the 8 kids that we've given birth to. But I am now getting to that point of slowly integrating people based on similar goals. And that's why we do stuff like this broadcast. And we got other projects that haven't been announced yet where that is the goal. Archie Rose said, Proverbs 3:29, do not despise evil against your neighbor, for he dwells by you for your safety's sake. Emphasis on safety's sake. Amen to that. I can see the value in that. Hopefully I can get there one day as I grow in my faith. I'm just not yet. I agree with points from both sides, and it's a great debate. Away from cities and most subs do solve most liberal problems. Family values are seen in mass here the further away you get from cities. I noticed that too. Even though I do technically still live in a major city, it is a drastic difference from the East Coast major cities already where we are. So I know there are vast differences in other places, and I'm not against middle America. You know, I've thought about it. It just wasn't time yet.
And you know, it may never be time.
I think I have I think I unfortunately have a rescuer's heart where I think I want to be close enough to redeem the people who are lost in the matrix still. For now, but eventually I probably will retire on my farm somewhere.
I'm moving. I'm going down south. That's it. I'm out of here. I'm going down
Tennessee
south.
is next for me. Tennessee been calling my name for a minute.
It's been. I was thinking about Texas.
Yo, you talking about having tough neighbors and dealing with your ideals, especially religiously. Down south is the worst place to go.
It ain't religiously. I don't care. I can tolerate that.
Yeah.
Why is down south the worst place to go?
Because that's where the worst of ideals come from. Just being generally honest, the worst of ideals come from. Hey, read Thomas Sowell, discriminations and disparities, and then read what is it called? Black rednecks and white liberals.
Right. I'm just gonna speak from observation though, because I've lived in the South and the North. The idiotic stuff that I seen and witnessed in Philly does not compare.
You won't stop just keep pointing out Philly. That's
where I live though. It's not picking on Philly.
What part?
New York is even worse.
We lived all over Philly.
Where? I was gonna say where?
Frankfurt, Germantown. We lived all. Now there were
Not
different,
uptown.
there was differences in different places, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying in general, like out there,
It's definitely a whole different monster.
yeah.
But
Go ahead.
But in the South, there it's a whole different type of when you for the streets, when you ratchet, you all the way there. Like
Yeah, there's
it
no reservation.
dumb stuff.
Yeah, in Philly, they'll quietly kill you, and in the South, everybody gonna know that you getting murked right now.
Wow.
You use the lingo.
Let me rethink that then. Let me rethink that.
I mean, I ain't saying that's how it's gonna be where you live in. We're talking about the
The
extreme
hoods, yeah.
people in those areas. Obviously, like all of Philly isn't horrible, you know. And for the most part, even the hoods in Philly got a community feel to it. Don't get me wrong. I did like my
People gonna
community.
look out for you.
People will look out for you. You know, you
To
got
an
an old
extent.
neighbor that's sitting on the porch all day and see everything. Like I did like that. So I'm not crapping on it all together. But when it comes to the mindsets, like for the most
Who is-
part in Philly, it was everybody.
Quietly and Philly stop. They coming at Philly.
Everybody
And
is
everybody
regurgitating.
for themselves.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they regurgitate.
Can I ask you in family values a question, Driscoll?
Yes, sir.
Would you consider Philly to be an extreme
Yes.
and not the standard? Like, is Philly the exception and not the standard?
I wouldn't say exception, but I say extreme. I can't say exception because you got New York, you got Boston, you got Chicago,
Baltimore.
you got LA, you got Baltimore.
Baltimore.
So it ain't an exception, but it is the extreme. I don't think it's the standard.
What is the standard?
Man, the standard. That's a great question. What would be the standard?
Texas.
I think somewhere like Tennessee. Because Texas is vague, bro. Houston would still be just as much liberal trash.
Yeah, but that's also major. Whenever I think of major cities, those are the people who I think that are going to go to the extreme to stand against you. But
Exactly.
when you pick out, well, it doesn't even necessarily have to be rural areas because you could take out like San Antonio. San Antonio would be a difference between Houston.
That's true.
Boys, Idaho is the standard. What the funk is this?
Yeah, Taylor responded.
All right, give me a sec. I'm still catching up. What the funk said, is it the only solution for the Black community going forward? And we need to create own virtual and community school. And if Black women were not so after the bag, it would absolutely fix most issues. What is it though? When they said it is, talking about homeschooling. Okay.
Mhm.
Who is what the funk? Is this your people?
Yeah, I've seen this person before.
Well, if you don't come on today, let me go ahead and I pinned the link. If you don't come on today, please email her or one
Don't
of us.
move this comment though, because I want to read it.
My email is in my about me tab.
It is the only solution for the Black community going forward, and we need to create our own virtual and community school. And if Black women were not after the bag, it would absolutely fix issues or fix most issues.
Does it have to be only for Black people though?
Great question.
Because I think this could actually help all communities by doing this, considering what's happening. And it's not just directed to the Black community anymore. They're indoctrinating and doing these things to everybody's kids.
Right.
But
I want to see her answer to that before we move forward on that. She said, facts, I had to create my own tribe online due to not having the right positive people in the community around me. Exactly. That's where we are. Like I said, I tried. When I moved back to my hometown in 2020, that was my intent, was to be the village, to be the family. That was my reason for going. I was like, yo, we ain't got no family in Philly. I would like to be able to have that village, raise my kids with. Maybe me and the wife could get some more date nights in. I can get closer to my nieces and nephews. I made the efforts. I set up every Friday night to do a certain something with a family member. I tried that. and it all fell apart when I start creating boundaries.
Mhm.
And
That's
honestly, it's not
that goes
even.
biblical as well.
Honestly, I don't even think it's completely just the boundaries that caused that. I think a lot of it had to do with what we talked about in the content that we put out there.
And it was a difficult time, to be fair. 2020 was a difficult time for America.
Yeah.
And it was hard for a lot of people to understand. And I think people are understanding things more now. But then it was very divisive in this country. And if you did not agree, you became an enemy to people in 2020. So I get it. I'm not all the way ridiculing them now for it, but I am still a bit traumatized from it.
And we've
But
been
that's biblical though. That's biblical. And I'm about to paraphrase the heck out of this verse because I don't know it by heart automatically. I don't even know exactly. I mean, I can't look it up if you do want me to cite it. But it's kind of like Jesus. Jesus stated this: like, no man shall be the man in his own hometown.
Yeah, you won't be no prophets accepted in their hometown.
Yeah.
Organized in terms of a movement, pushing societal change, cultural renaissance, or what have you. Okay, so let's go back to your question now that you gave clarity. How do you plan to organize if that were ever to be a goal of yours? I think right now, there's a lot of power in the virtual community. I think the things that we're doing now with media is really opening the lane to be able to impact hearts and minds without having to be face to face. Now I have done some things face to face that I'm not even gonna say right now or give credence to for personal reasons. But when I did do those things, I still kept my private life private. We organized, this is where we're gonna meet, this is the occasion, this is the agenda, and when it's over, we go back. I don't make friends with everybody just because we're doing things for change together. You know what I mean? Now, if we connect on that level and it's natural, cool. I don't believe in forcing things. What the funk? I did drop the link, but I'll drop it again for you. Taylor said, "Are we talking about changing things on a grander scale or isolationism?" I don't know, bro. Whatever God leads. I'm not really the plan maker. I just see it through on that level.
And the hope that I have with even just having these discussions is to change the culture, which is on a grander scale. And I think you can't really have these conversations and make it and make it believable for people if you're not living it. So I think it starts at home. You have to walk the walk in order for people to respect what you're talking about in the first place.
That's
So
like the single women out here with how to get married groups.
right.
But you would be shocked how many of those exist.
I don't know why, but I'm not seeing all the comments. So maybe that's why she keeps saying like it's no link.
What's going on?
Oh, you have to go to the top instead of it saying popular comments, click all comments. You see the little dots or the lines?
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
But that might be why she can't see the.
Yeah, Taylor, change it from what is it called?
Not Taylor.
Not Taylor.
What is this?
Oh yeah.
But I changed it and I still don't see all the comments.
I don't get what you mean. You don't
look. It doesn't show. It shows this is all I'm seeing. I'm not seeing.
You know what? Because we simulcasting.
Oh, this is on my side, huh?
Comments on your side, and my people's comments are on my side. That's why.
Okay, so
I'll drop the link
drop
again.
it on mine. Yeah.
Sorry about that. This was our first time simulcasting. I didn't know it worked like that.
Mm-hmm.
Did I just drop it? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
Let me make sure
it's under Jazz. It's it says under family values. Let me see if I can see it on my phone.
Okay, yeah, there it is. It's on mine, on my live as well.
Said in Philly, they loud as hell. Quietly in Philly, stop. Well, what I meant by that
I still don't see
is
it.
that G's move in silence. That's the difference between the North and the South. That's what I meant. Like, people will plot on you to do it in a way that won't get caught or you know what I mean, won't be hot, so to say. Versus the South, I everybody got to know you the killer.
Right.
It'll be a 16-year-old walking around with 8 bodies in Philly and just look like a regular kid. Um, Taylor Dean said, "What's the ultimate goal of the podcast? Putting this message out into the world. You can think about the farm in the long term, but what footprint do you want to leave before that?" I really don't know, bro. Honestly, I'm just moving by faith right now, and I'm just letting it develop to what God wanted to be. I really don't know. I'm shocked that it's become what it did, to be honest with you. Philly is just as bad as those places. Exactly. That's why I listed them all. Standard is Boise, Idaho. Okay. I don't know enough about it to argue against that. So that's what's up. It's an absolute gold mine and safe haven of a city. uh Dallas, Texas to Denton. I'm guessing they're saying that's the standard. I can respect that. I think Smitty said Texas. I don't know about Dallas, but okay. Black Man Unfiltered. What's up, family? You always welcome. Appreciate you coming by.
Dallas is that I don't know if Dallas is the standard. That Dallas is the standard of a melting pot
Yeah, I'm about to
because
say somebody New York is the standard. So that's a tough question.
yeah.
I'm retired.
I don't think you can pick any city out of any state that is exactly down to the Tia standard.
Um, yeah, I agree. I'm
Oh,
retired. I had to cut off so many people who tried to finesse and get money. It was worse than after Katrina. I want you to elaborate on that when you come on here. And I didn't expect what the funk to be a man. What's
How you guys doing? Greetings from Germany.
oh yeah,
So I'm just waking up. I'm sorry, but great conversations you guys are having so far.
absolutely, absolutely. Could you elaborate on this comment right here?
Let's see. That's an easy elaboration. I've always kind of been against the grain, but I've always had cash. And when I retired in 2000, kind of happened during the pandemic. It was just everybody in my family came out of nowhere trying to get me to support their new scheme. And I would listen. It wasn't like a legit like business. If it was a legit business, I maybe would have helped. But we had so much finessing and finessing and finessing in our culture, and I played the long, slow game and made my money. And then when not Katrina, but when 2002 happened, everyone just came out of nowhere because they knew I had a surplus, and they all tried to get a piece of it. And I was just like,
Okay.
no, no, no. So that's why I had to cut off, because it was the same thing after Katrina. When Katrina happened, everybody came because I was in New York at the time, and they were trying to get money from me because, sob story, sob story. My friend said in Katrina, you can get people were mugging people with sad stories. Like they would just want, man, I lost my grandma and I lost, man, just take my wallet. Damn. Like it was that bad. Like people were just coming in with the sob story. So that's why I attribute it to the right after Katrina.
Got you. All right. Let's segue into homeschool, man. Why is homeschool so important of a topic to you?
Honestly, it's I grew up on a reservation in Oklahoma, and I want to say that first, Black people are the indigenous people of America.
Okay.
We are the Native Americans. So if that's the case, it would make sense for Black people to start practicing Native American philosophy and religion versus Christianity. And if that were to happen, then this would be the natural progression, would be homeschooling, because we have to make a separation from white supremacy. White supremacy and Masonism is the largest religion that no one's speaking about. And it has complete control over our Black men and Black children. And I think we've all seen enough examples that public schools in general do not adequately educate Black boys or black girls for life in the future. It's pretty much just an indoctrination to say who's going to sit and do a 9 to 5 the best way and, continue the status quo. I think that if we could separate from the public school systems and align more with Native American philosophy, then the rest of the world, not the rest of the world, but the right people will see us doing that and then want to follow suit. That's why I think it's better for Black people to actually take up the plight of the Native American philosophy and religion and put it back in our pocket. Because if we start to celebrate that and start to really practice the principles of that, then other people will see it and then want to follow suit. But if we try to do this along with everybody else, it will not affect the Black community the way that it needs to. So that's why I say it's better that we try to do this separately from everyone else first and align with Native Americans, and then try to build and learn how to do their system. And maybe even learn from Mormons and Amish people. But I think we have to have a separation from global government white people for a bit to build this the correct way.
Okay. You laid a heavy foundation.
Sorry.
Couple questions though. When you said
Yes.
we are the indigenous people, I've heard that belief system before. I don't necessarily agree, but I also don't have the facts to dispute it, so I'm not even going to try to.
Okay.
So with that understanding, why would we align with the people who are calling themselves the indigenous people if they aren't really that?
Because they have the religion that we've lost, meaning that all religion came from Africa. But if you study Native American religion and philosophies and stories, you'll find that it's pretty close aligned to the original messages that you're getting in Africa. And since we lost that, it's the next best thing.
Okay. And then second
My
question.
grandfather said the thing about Native American religion is it's about alchemy. And he said that's one thing that Christianity is missing. The idea that you can do something wrong and say you're sorry and you're forgiven. He said that's not right at all. And he said that's a lot of the problems with the Black communities, that we keep doing the wrong things, say we're sorry. Oh, I believe in Jesus, so I'm going to get to go to heaven no matter what. And he says that's not helping us as a community with that mindset.
Wow. Second question then, before
Yes.
we dive further. You said white supremacy is the biggest religion. Can you explain that and like maybe give us like an example of how you came to that conclusion?
Absolutely. There's a speaker named Neely Fuller Jr. I thoroughly suggest that everyone check him out. If we had reacted to Neely Fuller the way that we reacted to Kevin Samuels, good Lord, we would have really made a change in this matrix. And I think he has a lot of great conversations. But what he says is that with white supremacy, it's a belief system, and whether you believe it or not, it's in place globally, and it's bigger than Christianity. It's bigger because it's part of every type of religion. It's part of every type of infrastructure. And he points out the 9 war, sex, finances, banking, like there's 9 elements. And the fact that white supremacy as a construct, it is the largest religion as far as it being practiced, and it's also in power. It's also 6 in the morning, but I can. There's a link, and I'm happy to send it to you, and we can have a conversation about it. Or it's just Neely Fuller breaks down what is white supremacy, and there's this channel called Hip Hop Cartoons, and here in Germany, we've already been kind of separating because a lot of Black people didn't want to take the vaccine, so we've already been using that channel to educate the kids here with that.
Okay.
So
go
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you have or have you ever considered that some of your thinking is biased and that you don't necessarily think on all sides?
You can't think on all sides, but which part of what of the process is biased?
Because it's one ideal. Like even what you just said about like the vaccine or whatever. Science is not monolithic. So
Okay.
with science not being monolithic, all scientists don't agree the exact same way on everything.
Okay.
Even in news or whatever, if that's where you get a majority of your information or whatever, that that is bias as well. Like media is bias.
Okay. So are you saying I'm being biased because
Well, no,
of
no,
people
no.
didn't
I
want to take
said,
the
have you
vaccine?
considered that your ideals are biased? I didn't say that you are biased. I said, have you considered that your ideals might be biased?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, what ideas aren't going to be biased? And I think a lot of times people try to do the whole "we are the world" ideas to kind of to counteract the logical biases that could possibly be a solution.
Um, Define logical biases for me.
Define logical biases. Okay,
Yeah.
let's see. Let's see. A logical bias would be I'm going down the street in a neighborhood that I don't know, and I'm seeing a bunch of people who I don't know, and hmm, it's past a certain hour, and I don't want to go into that situation. Now, someone from the outside will go, "Well, what do you mean? Like that? It's what's wrong? It's you should be." And it's a logical bias would be like, "I'm not going to go into this area that I don't know," and they might say, "Well, you're being racist." It's like, no,
Bless
I'm
you.
not being racist. I'm having a logical bias where I'm not going to put myself in a situation where it's like something bad can happen. That's a
Mhm.
logical bias.
I do that all the time.
You're
That's fine.
discriminating.
It's fine.
Well, well, well,
I'm trying to
No,
survive.
it's a joke.
Yes.
to
Okay.
be clear, I think what was your point with the funk that you were seeing the fact that black people didn't want to get the vaccine as problematic?
No. My point was here in Germany, there's a large number of black people here who did not want to take the vaccine. So what they've done is they've already created communities and schooling so that they can have a separation.
Okay.
Because here, and that's why I'm saying that it makes more sense for I think people in America to kind of do that same kind of system instead of being so angry about what they're teaching in school and this message is being taught in school. They have the same problem here in Germany, but the thing is, most of the black people here is like, okay, we don't align with that, so let's just create our own, and the government has supported them in doing that.
Why would
Whereas
the
I think
government support them in that in a system of white supremacy?
because they have to play the game to okay, in the system of white supremacy, you still can't be like, well, no. If you have a legit concern or you have a legit know how to play the system, even though you are black or a person of color, over here in the EU system, if you have the logical backing, they can't argue it and they'll give it to you. Whereas in America, I think when you come with logic, they'll still kind of minimize and it's very hard to get. Whereas here, they said, okay, there's a lot of black people here who have issues growing up with being the only black person in that schooling. So in the last 20 years, they've already been making the foundations to have a separation where they've been already creating own black schools here in Berlin, own black communities where it's like people can be surrounded by themselves because there's a huge mixed culture here of black people in Germany. So here we are 20 years later, they've already put the foundations for that. Now, when the COVID and everything happened, they said, okay, well, we don't know how this is going to affect people of color. We don't know how this is going to affect people with melanin skin. And they was like, well, the scientists couldn't say we don't discount that. They said, okay, that's your belief. And they said, well, since that's what you want and you're willing to do the infrastructure and you already have the teachers in place, you already have all the ideas, we'll give you the money to put this together.
Can white people
As
go to
long as they've done the work to build the right foundation, the government supported it.
can white kids go to that school?
No,
Wow.
it's for mixed or black children only.
That's segregation. Yeah,
Okay,
that's and the reason I say that though, this is why I say that. Because
but
I
the okay, but
go ahead.
it's segregation. But again, did the people who wanted to create this school have a valid reason to build this school?
That's a fair question. I'm not saying that segregation
No,
has
I'm asking, did they have a valid reason?
yes.
If so, then why not build it?
Go ahead, family values. I'm gonna let you get in there.
But did they have a valid reason to not allow white people to be a part of it? Is
Yes,
that meaning they didn't
there's already been studies of black girls and black boys here in Germany having very serious mental issues of being the only black person in that school, especially if they're in villages and
but
the things that happen to them. So to fix the problem, They logically went to the government and said, these people of Germany, they need their own, they need a place of refuge. They need a place where they can be educated differently. They need to be with people who look like them and be able to enjoy that. And as they've done that, they saw better results. They saw that these kids weren't having these self-esteem issues anymore. So the government started putting more and more money into it, and it started to build and build and build. I'm happy to give you some videos and even show you what the school looks like.
No, I believe you. I believe that it's working well. I think the problem is hard for us to conceptualize this as Americans.
Okay.
Because here we seen the reverse, where we were given the black schools, but it was not to better us. We had worse education systems there. So that's my concern. Is that
well, it would be the same thing. Imagine if it was a large black Amish community.
Okay.
Like they have, the Amish people have every right to separate and do all the things. And
right.
Why could there not be a black community that did the exact same thing?
But historically, that's inaccurate, though.
Which part is inaccurate?
Well, when it came down in the past to like World War II, and people were doing, or as Dave Chappelle would put it, having sex over very frivolous things. Thomas Sowell, in his book of discriminations and disparities, described this, that there was a very different nature in education between American or African American males being taught and European black males being taught amongst the Germans. And it was all cultural. It was really rough here because slavery existed here for a really tough existence. And Hitler wasn't necessarily like a black advocate or whatever, but when
Andrew Jackson was 10 times worse than Hitler. So what? We have to have our Hitler on a $20 bill.
Just let me finish my idea, and then afterwards, free form for your point. But when black kids were raised in Germany, not only did they get a better education than black African American people who were raised there in America, but their skills were equal to that of their counterparts.
Really quick, because Lakia has to go, and then I'm gonna let you respond with the funk. Lakia has to go. If you want to give your final thoughts, sis, and you can get on out of here.
As always, I enjoy coming on and talking about things. It's the only way I feel like people will start to open their minds and be more receptive to things other than what's in their immediate surroundings. So always a good time. Make sure to follow me on Keeping It Real with Lakia on YouTube and on Instagram now. And, I'll be back for the next topic. It was good talking to you guys. Nice to meet you, Mr. With the Funk. And I'll see you guys soon.
Peace and blessings, sis.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, What the Funk? The floor is yours.
I just had a quick question for What the Funk. These schools that you're talking about, the all black schools, are they teaching? Do they have the freedom to teach what they want to teach, or is it that?
Yes,
control?
they do.
Okay.
They have that was one of the things they actually really brought up, because the idea that there's not a black German culture was a problem. They were saying that everything blackness was kind of incorporated coming in from America, when there is a black German community, and many people coming in from Africa, but many people coming in from Sweden, many people even coming from so what the idea was, we need to actually stop incorporating the if we see a problem with the American culture, we need to actually show what a black German culture is. So that's one of the things, is like we need to actually build that. So in order for them to build that, they had to have their own curriculum.
Okay. I mean, I guess, I don't necessarily got a problem with it if it's working. I guess it's just hard to fathom, because Germany is a much smaller country than the United States.
Absolutely.
I guess my biggest thing.
But the thing is that also, but but you have to understand the EU system is just because the same problem that they're having in Germany, they're also having in Switzerland. So they're doing the same thing in Switzerland as well. They're doing the same thing in the Netherlands and Amsterdam. Like in the last 2 years, the Black communities in these, I'd say surrounding 5 or 6 countries have all been doing this for the Black community. You don't hear about it, but it's been happening because a lot of the Black people here, and it's not about whether you believe in the vaccine or not. They're just like, look, we don't know what this is going to do for people of melanin skin. We just don't know. So in order to do that and have a separation, let's go ahead and knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. We get to go ahead and separate from those who don't want to have the whatever you want to call it. And we can also use this opportunity to build this foundation that we've already had and actually have a different, educated, separated system that benefits our Black kids. And yes, people were upset about, well, why can't white kids come? It's like, because again, what's the point of having the inclusion if we built this to fix the self-esteem and you see it's working? Then why do these white kids want to come to the school? Tell us the reason why they want to be included in this type of curriculum. Why?
Because maybe they have the same ideals. Maybe they feel the same way you do. Maybe they don't want to take the vaccine either.
But the school's not for the vaccine. The school is for people who are people of color, because there's a different curriculum for that. So even though those white kids don't want to take the vaccine, there's no reason that they come into our curriculum. They can also build their own schools as well.
You're making the proclivities of people absent.
I'm sorry, what was that word again? Proclivities?
Yeah, like some white people have a proclivity to hang around fucking Black people. They want to be around us. And
that's fine, but not part of during the educating system.
But they would also feel like they were robbed from something because they want to be a part of that thing.
Well, then if that's the case, then white people will always do that, because white people globally hate seeing us educating ourselves without them being involved. They always want to be in the room to see what's being said. They always want to kind of know and that's always been an issue for us. I think there's nothing wrong with us being able to educate our own children in the ideas of what being Black is, what you'll experience in being Black, how to navigate this Black experience, because every Black person has the Black experience. And I think it's very important that we all teach young children how to de-escalate.
In order for you to do that,
you don't get those lessons in a normal school about how to de-escalate an argument, because that helps in relationships. That helps when dealing with your brother peer to peer, like how to not put yourselves in situations, like how to creatively problem solve. Those are the things that are actually most important for dealing and learning and being through the Black experience. But you don't learn that in a regular education. And that's what they were speaking about here, is like, we have to have a different education as Black people because we have a different experience in this world as Black people.
I would agree with you. W.E.B. Du Bois.
So let's learn those lessons at an early age instead of after 18. Where they're realizing like all these Black people here are having mental issues. They're on pills. They're on medicine. It's costing the government more money. The government said, okay, we're spending too much money upkeeping the mental issues and doing all this. Let's actually put money in at an early age, and maybe that'll fix the problem. Because again, they came with logical solutions. And if you have logical solutions here in the EU, more than likely you can get the backing to fix those logical issues.
Right. So I guess my issue is, why not have those issues taught at home?
Have the issue? You mean the education taught at home, or what issues?
Well, the Black experience, because that's not education at that point.
Okay, who would teach that? Because if the kids are mixed, and let's say, so if you say that is taught at home, and if there's a large community of mixed people, and let's say there's let's say it's a mother who has a Black child, but the father's not here, then who's going to teach that child that lesson?
Let me tell you something, yo.
Wait. Answer that. Answer that question.
I mean, if the mother's not Black, I guess no one.
Exactly. And that's what happened 20 and 30 years ago. There was a large number of that. And even the mothers who were white who were saying like, okay, I've been teaching my child wrong. And that those children grew up and they're saying they're the people who built this system now, because they grew up with like, okay, my mother didn't teach me correctly and I didn't know my father. And oh my God, I tried to as I got older, I found out what my father really was and the lies that the government aligned with my mother. So 30 years ago, they've had that. And those people, those kids who grew up in that, they are the ones who have built these schools.
Okay.
They're the ones that are building this culture now.
Can you give an example of what you would teach a Black child that you wouldn't teach a white child?
I would teach a Black child a completely different way of how to dealing with the police than a white child.
So a white
Completely
child,
different.
are you saying you wouldn't tell a white child that this person, you need to respect the police or make sure that you're not acting a certain way to create, fear in that police? You wouldn't teach a white child that, but you would teach a Black child that?
You teach them the same thing, but you have to teach a Black person differently, because you can't say the same message to the white person and, oh, respect police, and okay, and it works. You still need to tell them to have submit during the time, but you have to teach them, a Black child, how much more important it is for them, because a white child will go into the world and say, I don't really see this issue being, I don't, it's not happening. My friends aren't talking about it. But a Black child will grow up and they'll see examples like, okay, this is why I have to learn it this way. This is why I have to play this game this way.
What examples did you see in your life that shaped that thinking, if you don't mind sharing?
Growing up in Oklahoma.
Go ahead.
I grew up at Langston University, which is like a Black college campus in Oklahoma, and I was also on the reservation. And I saw just the back and forth that we always have had in the community. And then as I went into a white community, I saw that at first it seemed like it was better, but there was more underlining bullshit that was happening. And my uncle was always teaching me that you have to play the game of chess in life, meaning that as Black people, as soon as you learn that we are not equal, we are in a system of white supremacy, we are prisoners, and we have to play the game differently. We have to understand the poisonous apples that are put in our faces and not bite those apples. And that's what they always do. We're playing Connect 4 and they're playing 5D chess.
Who are we prisoners to? Is it just white people in general?
No, not white people. The system of white supremacy.
What does that mean specifically? Like, because that's what I think we're disconnected. We don't really understand what you mean when you say that.
I am happy to look up the link Hip Hop Cartoons. There's an editor. In fact, I'll even link you to the editor and you can have a conversation with him. What he has done is before Neely Fuller passes away, because he's already close to his 80s, he's put animation to his messages so kids can watch it and digest it better.
Can I interrupt you real quick though? This is my thing. If you're saying this is a drastic issue that all Black people must know, because it affects us on a tremendous level, can you not explain the idea yourself without me having to look at the cartoon?
And I have some okay. All right. So give me a second. I'm gonna get some water. I'm gonna calm down for 1 second, and then I'll come right back and I will try to explain this because I'm just waking up.
All right, no problem.
All right, 1 second.
While he's away, Smitty, I don't know if you know you like binoculars right now on your camera screen.
I seen that. I think he did it on purpose.
Yeah. We kind of, we take it a little detour, but I'm curious to see where we go with this.
Yeah, my thing is that I think it could be dangerous. It can turn into Black supremacy at this point if you're not even allowing for other people to come and get the same education as you're getting. Now, how do you think it would people would feel if there was an all-white school and Black people weren't allowed to come? That would be a problem.
That already happened.
That's already there, miss.
Well, this is my ultimate question.
There's private schools that we can't afford to go to, but we get to go to.
That's not the same.
No. Again, there already is a separation, but we don't understand it and see it.
No,
If the goal is to fix the South,
can I ask you a question real quick, bro? Just all right. So, if we need all Black schools to come to this conclusion, right? How did you come to this conclusion without attending all Black schools?
Who said I didn't?
You went to all Black schools?
Sir, I literally just said a few seconds ago I was raised at Langston University, which is a small black university. Yes, I've been in all
Oh,
black
I
schools.
didn't hear the back end of that. You said Langston University. I didn't think that.
Primary school, though,
Oklahoma is
that your
okay.
base education wasn't all black, was it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, then, okay, that answers the question. We didn't know that. We missed
And I was
that.
also raised on a reservation, which was all native. And then I also went to Boise, Idaho, damn near, which was all white.
Okay.
Like,
And even in that ideal is not necessarily encapsulated in that community.
which
That
ideal?
is
The homeschooling ideal?
the ideal of a black school needed in order to teach other people the ideals that you have. I don't want to discredit anything.
Wait. If you have a community of black people, okay, anywhere, and yet they're separated from other black people, and it's not a community. It's just like one black person here, one black person here, and those black people are having issues with their blackness and their black identity. What would be your solution for them? You keep going into the same white schools to fix the black? Like, what's your solution?
Turn off CNN.
They don't watch. What does CNN have to do with? Wait.
Well, that wouldn't be my answer. That wouldn't be my answer.
If there's an identity issue, that should be taken care of in your home. That's not
how is a white mother or a white father going to fix that black identity issue?
Because they're not just black, they're white as well, so they can have an identity with their white side. And even to the point of, why do we have to base our identity on our skin color? Your identity is what your family values are, what's important to your family and that legacy, not the color of your skin.
Your identity should be who your father is, what your lineage is, who you come from. I don't see
if the fathers are not here.
That's the problem. Then what we're trying to fix.
So that's been a norm that a lot of German women have gone to countries outside of Germany and gotten pregnant and coming back here and having black children. That's been something that's been happening. Wait. That's been something that's been happening for the last 50 to 60 years. And again, I'm telling you that the children of these women have now built this foundation because they've experienced something that maybe you all didn't experience. And they have a different German black experience that maybe is different from the black experience in America. And what they have done is said, okay, let's figure out a way to fix the issues that we had so that our children don't have that same issue. And
by doing what they are experiencing in these white schools to the white children, right? So separating.
They are a minority of like 0.4% here. What do you mean that the white kids are 90-something% here? People of color are like lower than 4% because one, it's Turkish here, and then there's like black people of color are not like in America. It's not 13%. So where are they going to get the?
We can't relate to it. Yeah.
I'm happy to connect you to the lady who even built this foundation because she looks just like you, Miss.
Foundation. I think based on what you're
what is the mixed community in Germany, you think? What is the identity of a mixed black person here? Is there a community for mixed people in Germany? If these things didn't exist.
I really can't speak on that.
Yeah, because it's hard to compare.
In fact, try to remember what happened when all the mixed people tried to come during the Black Lives Matter thing, and they got pushed to the side because black people told mixed people that they're not black. Therefore, these people here have said, okay, if we're not black enough on this side and we're not white enough on this side, we have to build our own foundation.
And all that
doesn't that logically make sense?
All that would be solved if we just accepted that we were human enough.
I was about to say, why can't we just be a nation? Why can't you?
How do we got
all
to
Germans,
white or black?
Yeah.
Do you think that's how the reality? Do you think that Germans see Turkish people as Germans?
I'm gonna answer that.
Do you think that white Germans see Turkish people who have been here for hundreds of years as Germans?
On a level of success.
Hold on.
All right, I'll stop.
Because you made a point earlier. You said, and I'm paraphrasing, I might be off with how you said it, in so many words that the white kids can have.
We could have watched this Nilly Fuller video, which was 3 minutes long, and it would have explained everything.
We can do that. We can do that after if you got a link to it. But You said that the white kids have better access to better schools because the black kids can't afford it. Am I
Wait, wait, wait,
paraphrasing it kind
wait,
of
wait,
right?
wait. You paraphrased the hell out of that.
In
I did
America,
not say that.
in America,
Oh, okay.
right. So in America, that's the situation, but that's not because we're black. That's a socioeconomic issue. LeBron James' son doesn't have that problem. So to make that a black problem is inaccurate.
I am going to look forward to having these videos, conversations with you guys, and I think we should do a thing where you guys can even join the kids and the teachers, and you can even sit into one of the classrooms and see what an education looks like. Because clearly you just don't understand what I'm saying, and that's perfectly fine.
No, I
Maybe I'm
do.
saying it wrong, and it's early in the morning. That's what the first thing I said was just go ahead and listen to Neely Fuller because he explains it 100 times better than I can.
Is
And
he
the
explaining
editor who did
about Germany or America?
again, the editor did it with visuals, so it's also easy to digest. And if you would just sit there and watch the 3-minute video, then maybe it connects the dots, and then I don't have to sit here for the next 20 minutes trying to explain the concept.
All right, well, drop it in the back chat if you can find it, and
Sir, I just told. If you want knowledge, I'll drop it in the back chat. But it's called Hip Hop Cartoons. That's the name of the
all right,
channel. It's that
well, don't
easy to
worry about it.
find.
You don't got to drop it. I'll look it up later, and I get it. Let's
Okay.
let's get to the topic of homeschool. That's something we all agree on. Because what you're talking about right now is not even homeschool. This is just a separate institution that
Right.
you agree with. You know what I mean? So that's still not necessarily the same situation. So what was your homeschool thoughts like as far as why that is important? And do you think it's not any more valuable than what you're saying now?
No, I think homeschooling is actually way more valuable. I think that there's no reason why women can't maybe find 2 or 3 more other women who want to do the same sort of situation, put their kids together, and kind of create their own little schooling system. There's enough information online to find. There's enough information in books to find. It's an easy concept if you break it down logistically and just keep it simple.
Okay.
And if you do that, you can go to a government and they will, once you already have that foundation, they'll say, okay, like they'll step off. You are allowed to homeschool your children and you are allowed to build a foundation of homeschooling around your kids. The problem is in the Black community is that that's not really a issue. I mean, that's not really a solution that we've all tried to do. I think homeschooling is the absolute best way to educate your children. I think it's the best balance to have the father going out and making the money, and the mother is in charge of child rearing the children and educating them so they're not indoctrinated. Instead of spending so much time and effort trying to tell the school how to teach your children, instead of getting so angry about how, oh, I don't want my kids learning this, I think it would be much more positive if we just took the power back in our own hands and took over the rearing of our own children.
I wholeheartedly agree because the issues you presented in Germany, though I don't understand them, I do think as a parent you should get the right to make that decision to correct it in that manner if you feel that's the best way. And I agree with you. We're not going to get anywhere complaining about the public schools because the problem is that I may go in there and say I want y'all to change this, but there might be another parent that likes that.
Yeah.
And
or maybe your child's getting bullied and you're trying to go in saying, I don't want my child bullied. I don't want my kid. Look, I'm sorry. Like if your child is being bullied and you can't force the school to make the problem right, you as the parent have to put your child out of that situation. And unfortunately, especially in smaller, lower income schools, the bullying is going to happen with your own people. The bullying is going to happen either in administration or even from your own peers. So I honestly say for your self-esteem as a Black child, it makes way more sense to be not public school, to be homeschooled versus being put into a public school.
I mean, statistics even agree with you though, because one thing we can't argue, whether you want to believe it's systemic racism or other factors in the home life, Black kids do worse in the public schools, and I mean we're reading at a horrible level. So that's not a disputed fact. That's a statistical fact. So I do agree with you that it will serve us better, but the problem society wise is that most of us don't have that nuclear family structure to support it.
That's true. That is, I think that's also. Go ahead.
I don't know if it's the same in Germany when it comes to Black families.
No, the thing that I found that's actually strangely different is the Black women who built these foundations, a lot of them came from a 2-parent household. So they had a father In fact, like I think her mother was African, her father was white. So a lot of the black women here grew up with a father figure, and they want black men to be fathers. So that's why they're building this, because they're seeing that that's not, there's no real identity for that. There's not a lot of positive um, influences about that. So if they want to see more, if they want their black children, their black boys to be good black fathers, they saw that they have to build their own identity, because they're not going to see it anywhere else. You don't see healthy co-parenting on entertainment on TV. I can't think of a black parent and a black, like a positive co-parenting situation, or like the images that come for what being black is usually negative. So what they've done is said, okay, we need to go ahead and be in control of our own image. I think the same thing that Kevin Samuels was always trying to say is that black people need to figure out a way to have their own media, because the media that's already portraying us is not portraying us in a positive way. And a lot of it is full of stereotypes and bullshit. So the only way to fix it, instead of trying to tell Hollywood and the media how to tell us, no, make us look like this, is that we have to build our own media separate from that. And I think the same concept goes with the schooling.
Right. I feel that. And I can agree on a lot of what you're saying, man.
I'll take that.
Yeah,
I'll take half. If I got 50%, then I did better than what I expected.
Nah, I feel that. Do you think that? Well, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Do you see this same issues in the white nuclear family in Germany?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh God, absolutely.
This is a cultural attack in general that's not just on black people. Then, as far as
I see the same thing happening globally, because again,
right.
it's parents are making money, and internet and TV and tablets are raising the children.
Yes.
And then also schools are raising the children. So really what it is, it's like, I was speaking with a friend, and I was like, people aren't even in real relationships anymore. It's more like, hey, I come in, let's say me and this woman here are married. I come in from work, she comes in from work. How was your day? My day was good. How was your day? It was okay. Great. I'll go to do my thing with my video games or my TV. You go do your thing. Like in reality, we're really just roommates, and we check in on each other to make sure we're all right. But then we kind of go into our own world in the same house. And what's happening is that parents are doing that and kids are doing that. And really, we're not interacting as a family. We're not sitting at the table. We're not having real authentic family discussions. What it is that we're all just kind of existing in the matrix of technology and going through life. And there's people here who are saying that I don't want this to continue, and I can't beat the matrix, so I just have to build a safe haven that's away from it.
Got you. And that's exactly what we're doing and aligning with, in a sense too. We just aren't excluding white people, but I do align with your thought process fully. And I get why you're saying it the way you do, and I don't necessarily knock it from your perspective either.
I think they're giving more grace here though, because I hadn't thought of that point, because again, since people of color are such a lower statistic, they actually can get more benefits. Whereas I guess in America, with us being 13%, it would be way more difficult to get the support and the funding to build that. Whereas here, with it being German, Turkish, Arab, Asian, so like there's so many other groups of cultures and people who are getting benefits and help before German black people. The German black people said, wait a minute, we're still German.
Yeah.
Let's get these benefits that all the other Germans get. And then let's go ahead and benefit our own black community.
Yeah, it's tough because here, if they build a premier school that solves all the educational issues across America, and so only white people can get in, that would be burned down. It would be a riot. You know what I mean? So I think that's why it's a little bit harder for us to understand.
Well, but again, those things are already there. They just trick you with the idea that you have inclusion, because again, most black kids who are there on some sort of stipend or some sort of scholarship, because what they do is they price out black people in these higher education systems.
Okay.
So you think
grandma can afford to send you to that $100,000 a year education.
They price out poor people, and we just happen to be the most poor.
Yeah. Yes.
Go ahead, Jasmine. Did you have something?
No, you clarified that when you just with your last statement.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like I know you kind of was annoyed by that when I brought up the LeBron James example, but every black person ain't poor. You know what I mean? But the majority
are.
lower class. So I get the point. We ain't got
Actually, let me take that back. Because no, the majority are average.
right.
But again, what the
Average.
average income in America
Yeah.
doesn't get you much. But if you took that same average income and took it to another country, you would do perfectly fine. And that's the point. Is it's I think I was speaking with on a channel. I think it was yesterday when women were saying like, "Oh well, you can't submit to a man who's making 40 to 50,000 a year," and I'm like, "That's average."
Right.
Well, why? And they had all these reasons. I was like, "Those are all wants that are unnecessary."
Yep.
And everyone had the idea that you can't raise a child with that kind of money. I was like, absolutely you can. Are you telling me globally that people who don't make $50,000 a year have no right to procreate and have children? And they're like, well, that's not what I'm saying. I was like, well, that kind of is what you're saying, because you can absolutely raise a happy, productive family with $50,000. You can easily uproot. I grew up in that. I grew up in seeing. I've seen trailers, and the idea is that, well, you have so much wants, and well, what about karate class? Like, teach your kid karate then. What are you talking about? Well, what about you have to spend? No, you don't have to spend money on that. And I think that we are so enamored to thinking that we have to spend money to raise children, when in reality, our kids just want to exist and be with people and learn and be happy and be joyful.
All
It's
they
the
need.
parents making too much, building this doll mentality. I think it speaks about it in Ghost in the Shell, where it's like everyone gets a child and they want to create this doll version of it, when in reality, just let that thing exist.
Yeah.
And
No,
give
we
it
talk
love
about
and
this on
prosper
Monday.
it.
We talk about it all the time, man. People always coming at us about you can't homeschool, you can't have a housewife, da da da. You got to be rich, and I'm like, listen, when you got as many kids as we have, we got hand me downs that has went through almost every back in the house. Like when you homeschool, you don't got to buy school clothes twice a year no more. It's not that hard.
It
Like
really
people are
isn't.
complicating stuff. Yeah, but what it is especially black folks, we got to keep up with the Joneses.
It's the swag culture that really the idea of this whole what you I even remember speaking because I was trying to help these two people co-parent, and I co-parent with my kids very well, so they were kind of asking me for advice, and I found that the child's mother was wanting to spend so much money on Jordans, and this kid's 7. I'm like, and it was a problem for I'm like, listen, if you want to have real support from the man without you having to fight for it, then you have to be spending that money on different things, because essentially he's saying that I'm giving money to you, and I don't like how you're spending it. So if you want him to give you money freely without an argument, then just spend that money in the way that he wants, and then that negates the problems. And once she kind of understood that, then it kind of really helped the situation. Where it's like, spend that money on things that make the father smile. Spend that money on things that's going to be like, oh my God, I see a version of myself now in my child. And that man will even work harder and give you more money for that. But once you're spending the money on things that maybe the father feels is counterproductive in the image of what he wants his child to be, then you can't expect him to want it to be willingly paying for that.
Facts. Mr. Bobby Wright, what's up with you, bro?
So can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Hey,
That's,
Bobby.
hey. Hopefully this is not an echo. I'm using my phone. Yeah, I just jumped back in here. I'm just kind of trying to catch back up with what y'all was talking about. I had to I had to take a nap. I keep forgetting I'm not in my 20s.
I feel that.
Gotta get them naps in. But no, was a WWT Funk is absolutely right. You know, obviously money is an important tool, but I think people forget that it's a tool and it's not like, I think in America we're so conditioned to look at money as this thing that you have to have so much of it as like an identity versus using it as a tool.
Yes.
Like that's a big difference. Like I mean, I grew up in a 2-parent, middle class kind of environment. So I know I probably a little different than a lot of other Black Americans, even just within my own family. So like I understand there's somewhat of privilege, but I didn't grow up rich either. Like we were probably one of the least wealthy in the neighborhood. We basically made just enough money to grow up around white people, like Dave Chappelle said in stand up. He's like, I was just broken. Like we were just made just enough money to be broke around white folks. It's like that, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, like he was saying, you take quote unquote average money to other countries, and it's not average anymore. But a lot of times it seems like the respect that we get as men, especially Black American men, is tied to our money. Whereas in the past in this country, it was more so about the family and what that man could do, not just financially, because we never really came from money in our culture as Black Americans. I can't really speak for Black people across the world, but you know, within our lineage, we never came from money like that. Outside of maybe like, you know, Black Wall Street in those few towns, but there was a level of respect in order for the man and the woman, the mother and the father, and then the children within the community. We had an actual community. Like he was saying, now everybody's kind of in their own world. You know, what the kids on the tablet, the husband's, you know, he's, you know, playing his video games or whatever. The wife's doing what she's doing. Everybody's just kind of in their separate rooms. People don't
Shopping.
sit. Yeah.
Like Kanye said, the white man get rich off all of that.
Exactly. Like we don't even sit and have dinner no more. Like, you know, even just something as simple as that, like just, hey, how was your day? Like everybody kind of coming together, even just in your own home, even if you don't have a community around you in your neighborhood, at least in your home, you should build that. You should build your own traditions. We don't just have to copy, you know, calendar holidays. Like I don't really celebrate too many calendar holidays, if any, anymore. But we should be able to create our own within our own families. Like that's a goal that I'm gonna do. You know, once when I choose to get married and start my own family, is create our own traditions within our own home.
Right.
It's not just about the money, you know. And I'm not a guy that's necessarily broke, but I'm far from rich, because I've heard that too. It's like, oh, only broke men say that money doesn't matter. It's like, no, it matters, but it should be used as a tool, no different than language. Like you can learn different languages as a tool. Money's the same thing. You know, that's not an identity though.
No, of course money matters, but we don't gotta wait till we are rich before we start a family. That's what's happening in Black culture now. People are like, I can't even start a family.
Yeah, there's women saying, there's women and men even on YouTube saying like you shouldn't even start to try to have children until you have 150. I'm like, are you guys really this insane?
Most people would never have that.
150,000.
No, I'm saying, but most people are never gonna have that.
I know that. It's honestly, if I want to be conspiracy theory-ish, it seems like it's a way for Black elites to try to, one, either get Black people to start working again but to slow down having children, while every other community is trying to tell their people to hurry up and procreate.
Let's
and
go
make more.
Since you gave me
I was being a conspiracy person,
you gave me my segue. Let's go there. I got one more video for the night. You kind of led me into it.
Working, then you're going to I saw this thing on TikTok where it was like, if you get the woman out of the house and working, then you're going to increase the tax, because girls are making more money now. And so they're taxed more. So the governments are making more money. And then you're killing two birds with one stone, because now you're separating the man and the wife. So the man has less authority over the wife and they're more separated. They're not as bonded. They're not as close together. And then you also send off your kids to school. So the family is separate. And when the family is independent, the family is not strong. They're easier to control. They're easier to manipulate. And the government makes more money off of it. So the idea of me working really hard, making a bunch of money, keeping my wife at home, keeping us close, and then she's with the kids, she's close to the kids, and she's programming the kids. The government does not like that, because the government does not get to push what they want to my kids. For sure. They make less money because my wife doesn't work, and we're just stronger and more resilient towards them. They don't like that. So that's all this.
This blew my mind, especially now, because we're seeing the big shift where more people are more open to these ideas after 2020. But prior, you know, if you talked about homeschool, man, people just knew you had to be in a cult. That's how they treated you.
Right. Yes.
You and it's just crazy when you think about how far we have come with the programming to where like the tablets, the cell phones, everybody in here is using a different product. Like materialism controls Black America so bad that the idea of marriage and family is a turnoff because we can't have two cars. It's terrifying to see where we're going, man.
Can I say this one quick thing? Because I want everyone else to talk for a bit. So I really want to get some water. But this whole idea that we laugh about with Karens, right? The Karens. We do realize those Karens are our children's teachers, right? We do realize those Karens are our kids' social work. Like the Karens have real power. And I don't think we spend so much time laughing at these moments, but these women have power structure positions over our own children. And I don't think we even give our children in America the levity to really tell us what they're experiencing with their teachers. And it's probably, if we see that they handle their temperament pretty crazy, what do we think how do we think they're really treating our kids?
Right. That's so true.
Yeah, just some of the most racist people are, like you said, those Karen teachers. Like once again, I went to white schools growing up, and you know, the white women are really good at that covert racism. I think that they low key invented it. I like real talk. I think that they came in with that feminism real smooth and everything like that, just on the low, and yeah, like
the schools
are the white women were like the good cop, bad cop of racism.
No, real talk. I mean, I'm saying in a joking manner, but I mean, like seriously though, yeah. Like some of them. I mean, you gotta think like who raised the quote unquote, you know, the white man, as we all say, you know, who was the one nurturing them and, you know, loving them. Those men didn't just pop up. Somebody had to support them. Those guys have girlfriends and wives, and you know what I'm saying. Not saying, you know, every single person out here is, you know, a snake, but as far as systematically, yeah, like majority of the teachers in America are white women. Who's the most quote unquote uneducated people in the country? We always talk about, oh, Black men can't read and all this type of stuff, which we should be teaching our children that at home. I don't want to negate that part, but for the people that, you know, put their kids in public schools, which is a majority, okay, well, who's seeing them, you know, whatever 7-8 hours a day or whatever, you know, in school? It's mostly these white female teachers.
Right.
You know?
And the school boards are teaching them the covert racism as well, though.
We just need to do what remember back in school where you had to read out loud in class, and if you couldn't read, there was that one girl in the back of the class that'd be like, say the word for you. That's what we need. That's all the Black. Like, that's all. Everyone needs to read out loud in classes again. And I promise you that, because that shit
problem in the public schools. School boards are pushing the covert racism because they're telling them, hey, little Timmy, because he's Black, he won't perform as good as the white kids. So don't expect excellence out of him. Just pass him along. Right. Just ignore him. They're not giving them the same motivation to work as hard as the white kids because he Black and he ain't gonna be able to.
Yes.
And, yeah, he's gonna be.
And we'll wear our victimhood as armor. And like,
exactly.
Oh well, and I'm all by all means, like, yes, there is shit that's redlining, all of it, but it's like we'll hear that happen, and it's like, okay, well, that's the excuse, and I'm going to sit here and rock with it. It's like, no, you study what happened, and then you have to outthink it. You have to outmaneuver it instead. What we do is we'll see the things that have happened to us, ingest our weed, and sit in it.
Yeah.
Versus maybe taking the mushrooms and trying to outthink it.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean that's why my dad, when I was a kid, he used to always make me read. Like when I was in elementary school, he used to always buy me like, you know, like kids books and stuff, and make me read them. Like, you know, I would, you know, finish my homework obviously, but you know, every so many months he would buy me new books, and he would check to make sure that I read them. You know, and my mom, when I was like even younger than that, my mom would, you know, read little kid stories to me. But as I got older, my dad would start buying me books, and he would consistently make sure, like, hey, did you read such and such book? All right, I'm gonna see if, you know, I'm a quiz you on it, like, you know, and stuff like that. I'm not necessarily like a bookworm, but I used to always think about that, like, man, how many people even just do something as simple as that in their home versus buying their kids, you know, a bunch of BS. Like I had game systems and stuff as a kid, don't get me wrong, but I would also still play outside.
Wait, did you say game systems as in plural? You had Bro, you
Yeah,
grew up.
my older brother had one, and then when I got older, I started buying my own. You know what I mean? So that's but at the same time, my dad would always make sure I would have to read first. Like so, it was a balance. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna sit back like, oh, I didn't mess around with
I
you know
played mines
tech.
all day, bro, uninterrupted.
Man, we had one neighborhood reservation Nintendo. That
Hey,
Damn.
was
that's all
it.
you need was that Nintendo back in the day. But now my
Everybody
parents
got
bought me
yeah,
a
it was bad.
PlayStation, but after that I had to buy my own game systems with like when I got older, started working. But no, my dad would always, when I was a kid, he always make sure that I was reading because he's like, yo, I'm buying you his books. I'm not gonna waste my money buying these books and you ain't gonna read them. Like I'm gonna check and make sure that you're doing that. But when I got older, I would think like, dang, like, do we even do that? Like, there's no reason people keep saying, oh, black men read at a fifth grade level or whatever the statistics are, and then we want to just say that, oh, well, black men are dumb, but most of the greatest inventions in this country came from the minds of black men. It's like clearly we're not dumb. Like I'm in trade school, and the oldest guy in the class, which I'm one of the older guys too, but the oldest guy in the class is also a brother. I can tell he's smart as a whip, like he's quick wit, he's funny, very intelligent, but he's kind of like a slower reader, but he's not dumb. You know what I'm saying? And one day he just kind of like, I don't know, I guess he's kind of maybe had like a panic attack or something. I think he got a bad grade and he's like, oh, my whole family's kind of, putting pressure on me. I got to pass this. And my wife's dogging me, my mom, my dad. And I'm sitting there listening to him. And like he's like, yeah, growing up, I didn't even know what my real name was until I hit 7 years old because my family just kept calling me dumb, call me dummy. I thought dummy was my real name. I told him like, man, that's a form of abuse, right?
Yeah, all the
And
way.
he kind of looked at me confused. I'm just like, man, like sometimes I kind of sit back and think like, does this happen more often than not? And then when we get older as black men, do we then turn around and tell our brothers, oh no, you just ain't about nothing?
Right.
It's like I think a lot of these little boys, they're getting mentally abused to think, oh, you're just dumb, and then they get out in the world. Of course, the world thinks that we ain't about
Yeah.
nothing. That's all a part of the game too. But it's like at the very least, the people in your home, when I'm talking about like black boys, if
Bob,
if
you
these
go ahead.
go ahead.
Yeah, you looking at it from your perspective of a man who grew up with a dad in the home, though. These
Yeah,
single
true,
mothers
true,
don't
true.
got the time to do what your daddy did. The stuff you talk about is valuable to us, but it's not happening in most black homes.
Yeah, and it's just sad. But you would think because sisters know this, but they don't try to prioritize getting married first
Yeah.
to a man that's marriage minded, so we can start to have more of this. Like if we're so bad, then why isn't there a bigger push to make sure? Okay, let's make sure that the next generation of boys is not as bad as we say black men are. But
True.
instead, we just shove these boys to the side. They turn 18 and then they make all these bad decisions in their 20s and even their 30s, and then they got to try to make up all this lost time in their 40s and stuff like that. But it's like a
But
lot of you guys are not dumb though. Like that, I've noticed that it starts in the home and then it goes outside from there. But yeah, go ahead.
You could
a
be an
lot
illiterate genius. You
a
could be an
lot
illiterate genius. Go ahead, Jazz.
sorry,
Yeah.
a lot of these women believe that they can create men, and the way that they're doing, they are raising these men to be feminine. They're raising these men to serve her. They're trying to create the ideal man of what she thinks a man is out of her son, and that's why we get a lot of these how do you call it, soft men out here that don't want to take care of their family, don't feel the need to lead, and feel like being married is just a partnership and not him being the head, the leader, the provider, protector. So we can a lot of the point I'm trying to make is a lot of these single moms think that they are doing that. They think that they are creating good men.
70% of black men are pretty much taught to lean on our women. Pretty much in America. That's what being a man is.
Well, I mean, you also have to think about growing up. I think most of us, the idea of what a man is always coming from women. Like
Exactly.
when mothers get, well, be a man, or even when women now, it's like well, you got to be a man. And if you actually ask them, what is a man to you?
Right.
A lot of them don't have a legit answer. And I think I had this one where it's like, this woman was like, well, a real man provides and protects for his family. So I was like, okay, let's say a man doesn't have a family. Can he still be a real man?
Ooh,
And she was like,
that's good.
well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, no, because 60% of men don't even get a chance to procreate. So if a man doesn't have a family, if a man doesn't have, let's say he doesn't have any children, can he, by your measurements, can he still be a man? And she was like, well, then no. And I was like, okay, then can a woman be a woman if she doesn't have children? And then, she got
Of
mad.
course, yeah. Then it switches.
But it's the thing, like the idea of being a man is, I think, a lot of intrinsically what's the problem with us. Whereas sometimes you don't get a chance we don't know what it is to be a man. We don't have examples of it. And everything that we've heard about what it is to be a man is usually being told to us from women in a state of anger. It's not like women come, like, it's not like your mom says, okay, now this is what, in a logical way, it's her idea. And probably what it is her grandfather or some weird shit. But in reality, the idea of being a man, it has to come from either a cultural, spiritual, or logical place. And I'm sorry, women don't really facilitate all three of those in trying to teach young boys what a man is. It'd be the same thing of me trying to tell a young girl of what a woman is. Eventually, it would be weird.
Yeah, but she needs a woman to show her that. And Jasmine, I hate to do this, but I think it's such a good point to this. When I met her, she was a single mother. And one thing I noticed about her, trying to teach her son how to be a man, trying to teach him how to be tough, she would say stuff like, stop being a punk. You know what I mean? Or punch him in his chest or something like that and say, man up, stop that crying, And to her, it was, I don't want my boy to be soft. She meant well, but she had no idea what she was doing, was literally going to do the opposite. You emasculating this young man. He is going to grow up with a negative opinion of women because of you doing that. He needs your nurturing. He needs your love. He needs your care, and that's the importance of having a father there. Because you getting that kind of treatment from a mother can break you down as a man.
You ever notice how when men fight, because I've been a career bartender, so I don't really judge Black people on what we say. I judge Black people on what we're doing when we're having fun. And as a career bartender, I've always noticed that when men are fighting and the one person loses, the person who's in the power position starts to truly sound like probably the mother that beat him. They'll have the same vernacular because they'll fight you and they'll keep hitting the person until they're tired or pulled off. The same way that a mother beats a son, where it's like, didn't I tell you not to? And then you'll see these men, when they've won the fight, they'll do the exact same thing to the man that's on the ground. Like, didn't I? And it's the same vernacular. And I think that they kind of channel back to that.
That's deep. That's deep. Oh man,
think about it. When you see a person fighting and you hear when they you just listen to how they speak when they've won the fight.
Wow. That's a great point, man. I am going to close out on that note because we've been up here for a while. I'm going to get all of y'all final thoughts, though, before I get up out of here. Excellent discussion. And what the funk, you are always welcome back for a homeschool discussion. We're going to set something up behind the scenes, maybe.
I cannot wait to connect you with the people who are smarter than me. So you can explain this stuff to you guys much better.
Hey, I appreciate your time, man, for even coming up here.
Not a problem.
We gave you some pushback, but you stuck it out for the cause. So thank you. With that said, let's go ahead and start with you, Mr. Bobby, for your final thoughts.
Oh, dang, put me in the spotlight. Yeah. No, I gotta go back and rewind and go back and see what I missed. I had to get that nap action, but I guess just in general, we gotta get back to valuing our own humanity, and I guess maybe just rediscovering what that means, and not just simply valuing money, maybe kind of unconditioning ourselves out of this matrix, as people call it, or this capitalistic society, and look at money as more of a tool that we can use to create our own reality versus having money be the reality.
I love that. Hey, man, I appreciate you for coming through. You always welcome. You family over here.
Yeah, peace,
God
peace.
bless, man. All right, my brother,
Oh,
you up next?
I'll make it quick. Again, thank you for having me on the platform. Anybody who's watching, drink coffee before you try to come up here because they got questions for you. You got to be ready. But no, I thoroughly appreciated it, and it's a good way to get the day started.
Right.
Again, the channel is called Hip Hop Cartoons. Neely Fuller is someone that is truly beyond logical, and he has written a book called The Code. It is something that, if you ingest, it makes complete perfect sense, and it's a perfect way to truly see the the dots that need to be connected. And again, all power, but again, if black people would just listen to him and have conversations about what he's saying versus this gender war that we're doing, it's only going to benefit our community so much more. So I just want us to maybe transition away from the Kevin Samuels conversations we've been having for the last 2 years, and let's start to have different conversations. And I appreciate this channel for having a different conversation.
I can rock with that, man. I appreciate you for coming through, and
Before you,
also we look forward to seeing you again,
oh man,
Smitty.
man, I was gonna say before he left, I wanted him to stick around because what I was doing was I was looking up the video about what I was saying about the German culture, but I'll catch him another time.
Word.
Once again, I appreciate you for having me on the platform. Dope conversation as always. If you guys would ever want to check out any of my content, you can check me out at Show About Nothing. Um, I got a video getting ready to come out about people being arrested for feeding the homeless, and the major conversation surrounding that is intentional community. Um, love y'all, and thanks for all of those who stuck around.
Word. And Smitty, his contact information is in the back chat too if you wanted it to set something up later.
All right.
Yes, sir. Family values, you up?
Yes. First, I'd just like to say this was an awesome conversation, and we could have went on for a couple of more hours, but it's super late now. But I the last thoughts I want to give is the solution to a lot of our problems is homeschool. There's a way that you could there's ways that you can figure out to find the extra time to do that, because homeschooling doesn't have to be an 8-hour thing, it could be a 2-3 hour thing. So I think if you're able to sacrifice 2 to 3 hours out of your day every day for throughout the week, I believe is very much so worth it because of what's happening in the public schools right now. And if you're willing to take that sacrifice, it's going to benefit your family and the generations to come. So I really recommend looking into that. And and if you don't know what kind of curriculum or things of that nature, just reach out. We have ideas. I know there's a place called Think Exodus, where it teaches our children to critically think for themselves, teaching them the importance of reading, and teaches them how to spot the lies that is being fed to our children right now. So if you're interested in that, I'll drop the link in the chat. And thank you again, Driscoll, for having me on. And I can't wait for the next show.
Absolutely. We appreciate you for coming through. And that is thinkexodus.org that she is referring to. My good friend Kylie Fontanilla and her husband are the founders of this school to assist homeschool parents. They give an excellent online curriculum that can help guide you on a different type of education than what we're getting in the public schools. It helps combat the lies that are being taught to us, these agendas, but also, like she said, teaches your children how to critically think and spot propaganda agendas and things like that so that they can be well versed when they get out into the real world. So thinkexodus.org. We assigned our 12-year-old up for the enrichment program a while back. She absolutely loved it and was coming to us asking us, can she do her next assignment? So definitely give that a look if you're a homeschool parent looking for a way to push that to the next level. Mr. Bobby Wright, we appreciate you again. And without further ado, it is that time for me to bring this to a close. It has been an amazing service. As usual, we will most likely be back here this Friday for another episode of Church of Heathens. For all that tuned in, we appreciate you for coming to join us from all across the four corners of the earth to join in this conversation, a very important one. If you didn't gain nothing else from this discussion, let's make marriage great again. Let's restore the family values that made men and women across this country great at a time in the past. This is the basis of every healthy society, marriage and family. Get our kids out of these schools. Enough complaining. They don't care about what we hollering at these school board meetings. Bring them home. Let mama teach them. Ain't nothing better than being taught by the person who gave birth to you, who knows and understands your needs more than anybody else on this earth. Merch coming soon with the font by special request. We on it. MMGA. We're gonna get some red hats made up too. Be all the way triggered. People gonna see that and be like, what did that say? Oh, I like that. That's how you get it. Again, we'll be back this Friday. It's already our hashtag, bro. On family values, pretty much everything we post now, make marriage great again. But we're gonna get more busy with it. If you ain't noticed, that means we ain't doing it enough. Grace to you. God bless. Have an amazing rest of your week. Until next time. Church.
If you can only look beyond the surface and see the purpose. Look beyond the surface. I never told the world that I was perfect, but God is working. Come on. They don't understand the life I live. They don't understand the life I live. I said I'm not perfect. They don't understand the life I live. They don't understand the life I live. Understand that God's working. They don't understand the life I live. They don't understand the life I live. Still working. They don't understand the life I live. They don't understand the life I live. They say old habits die hard, mind looking immortal. This Mortal Kombat, Reaper standing center the portal. As I'm fighting for my life, demons ain't being cordial. Every leap of faith I make, it's like I trip on a hurdle. I feel the devil so close that he inhaling my air, and the essence of his presence is oppression and fear. Once you push that fear aside, it should make you aware. The distraction is to stop you, cause your miracle's near. No need to push my life back if my doom was in reach. The blood of Jesus, what he chooses to feast. I feed some truth to that leech. Taste this victory and fill up your cup. Watch the inheritance just fill me back up. I never quit my assignment. Nah, blood sucker, ain't quitting my assignment. No.